care about week one. He may not care about the games in April and May if he's a Major League Baseball player, but you know this guy in crunch time is going to be there for you. And when the stakes are the highest, he's playing his best. And that's exactly what we're watching play out right now when it comes to the ongoing situation with Iran. So yesterday, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, ends up announcing that we are heading down the home stretch here of what is going to be a 2-week window to determine what exactly the United States is going to do when it comes to Iran, the nuclear capabilities, and potentially working with Israel to put an end to Iran's nuclear capabilities. Here was Caroline Leavitt yesterday from the White House podium.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
So Trump's basically saying here, we've got a couple weeks to figure this thing out. Now, there are still ongoing conversations between these two sides. All right, that was also, I think, a buried part of yesterday's press conference by Caroline Leavitt when she said, hey, these talks are still going on.
As for correspondence between the United States and the Iranians, I can confirm that correspondence has continued. As you know, we were engaged with 6 rounds of negotiations with them in both indirect and direct ways.
Way more complex. Trump's just not sitting around like twiddling his thumbs, being like, do we want to bomb them? Do we not want to bomb them? What do we do here? What kind of mood am I in? How are my gold iPhones doing? It's like, no, this is an ongoing conversation. Do I think that's a hard 2 weeks, by the way? No, I don't. I wouldn't screw at that deadline of 2 weeks, though. I wouldn't. Because remember, Israel attacked Iran on day 61. After Trump said, you guys have 60 days to negotiate. Day 61 was the day last week when Israel attacked a lot of Iran's nuclear plants. So I wouldn't take my chances if I was the supreme leader in Iran. I would be like, all right, this 2-week number, maybe it's not a hard 2 weeks, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be screwing around after what just happened to my country last Thursday night into Friday morning, right? So that right there is enough for Trump to have the gravitas and to have the respect from all these bad actors on the world stage to be like, this guy is trying to get some peace around the world. He is, right? Whether it's Ukraine and Russia, whether it's trying to come to some conclusion with China, notably on trade, but there are much bigger conversations to be had there. He is trying in a way that his predecessor did not, or was just incapable of doing, to draw some of these major global conflicts to an end. And Trump has been wildly consistent on basically all of these countries. He was one of the first ones in American politics to call China what they are, which is a threat to the United States of America. He has been very early in saying Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon, going back to 2012 when he was not even being talked about as a political figure, right? He has criticized the Iraq War for years now. So this notion that so many, frankly, to Donald Trump's right, are throwing out there of, man, I don't know, Trump, he's just going to draw us into another endless war. There's no evidence to suggest Donald Trump has any interest in that. None. So what makes you think that Donald Trump, who, whether you agree or disagree with his principles, is a guy who's suddenly going to basically totally do an about-face, do a 180, and throw away everything he's believed for the last couple of decades to what? Go to war with Iran? Mano a mano? There's nothing to suggest that he has the appetite for it. But that is a lot of the fear-mongering that has been thrown out there by some in Donald Trump's MAGA inner circle, and frankly, those that are to his right. It's in many ways kind of like the Vietnam syndrome, just like it is the Iraq syndrome. Somehow every U.S. intervention is going to turn into a quagmire of nation building or some type of long-term catastrophe where thousands of American troops are going to be put in harm's way. That would be political suicide for this president. He's not going to have any appetite for it. This is not like Lindsey Graham running the show. This is not John Bolton. It's none of these guys. I mean, yeah, are there guys and gals in the Republican Party that really are interested in these forever wars? Yeah, I don't deny that those people exist. I don't. They're on the right and they're on the left. So I understand being very cautious when it comes to some of these people and what their intentions really are and why they would have those intentions, whether it's because of lobbyists, buddies in D.C., the money pit that becomes these wars. A lot of people get rich off of them. I understand, and I think many of us understand, that we have to proceed with caution. But at the same time, Donald Trump has been wildly consistent on making sure that Iran does not have nuclear capabilities. And I don't know about you, but when the guys who are running the country enjoy chanting death to America, I kind of want to make sure those guys don't have a nuke. Call me crazy, but the guys who chant around the globe death to America, they're not the ones that I'm like, if they get a nuke, we just got to protect our borders. Make sure that, we're checking the entry points to the country and the ports and whatnot. Those aren't my guys.
He's a nut job.
Yeah, exactly. The Ayatollah and company, total nut jobs, total whack jobs, and making sure they don't have nuclear capabilities is wildly important. And I know some will say, well, what about the WMDs from Iraq? Okay, well, when J.D. Vance, one of the most isolationist people in the Republican Party, also happens to be the VP, when he is citing the International Atomic Energy Agency, and he is saying on social media that they're the ones who have documented the facts that Iran could be or is likely on the verge of having major nuclear capabilities, I will take J.D. Vance at his word here. Because J.D. was frankly one of the faces of the isolationist right for several years. And J.D. is now the one who on social media the other day, and we shared this on X, was citing the International Atomic Energy Agency's documents, saying these guys are darn close. Does anybody really think that Iran would hold off and not develop the nuclear capabilities that they potentially are on the verge of getting to be good guys on the world stage? That would be insane. They've been on this mission and they have really waged this war against the West for the better part of 45, 50 years at this point, right? Why would they suddenly stop now? 913-408-7957. So this is obviously a story and a situation that we are going to be monitoring closely. On the text line, Pete, 2 more weeks also gives them more time to use up more of their weapons, and they would have less to use on us if Trump does move ahead with his plan. That's true. That's a very good point as well. There is a large belief that Iran is running short already on its missiles and on its weaponry. 913-408-7957. Our studio line and our text line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. And we are streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Coming up, there was a big lawsuit filed in Kansas City yesterday tied to one of the biggest news stories we've seen in the last couple of years in this town. We'll tell you about it coming up next. In the meantime, as you are getting your Friday morning started and you're thinking about how behind you are on all the work you've got to do today at the office, I'm here to tell you about how Centric can help you with their AI-powered solutions to transform your business. They've been at it in Kansas City for 35 years, and they are rolling out their new AI hub in July. That is one place, one login, one way for you and all your support staff to utilize the tools that are artificial intelligence and get involved right now with the sales assistants that they have available, the coworkers that are available for you, and it is all tailored to what you are doing, your systems, and your needs and your goals with artificial intelligence. Go to centric.com/AI. That's CENTRIQ.com/AI. It's a new hub Centric is launching to have AI help small and medium-sized businesses right here in Kansas City. They're located on State Line Road. They're local folks who are going to help you today. Someone texted in, they said, centric.com/AI doesn't work. That's because they spelt it wrong. It's CENTRIQ, not C. CENTRIQ.com/AI. Lisa Lopez Galvan, the name will always be associated with one of the more tragic moments and, frankly, embarrassing moments in Kansas City history, and that was the shooting at the Super Bowl parade about a year and a half ago. Lisa Lopez Galvan's family is now suing Kansas City and other defendants, including event organizers and gun sellers, over the shooting that happened at the rally, calling her death a preventable tragedy. Lopez Galvan, along with her husband, Michael, and their children, traveled to downtown Kansas City to celebrate the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory February 14th of 2024. Of course, we know what happened. Gunfire erupted at the end of the rally. 24 people were hit, including Lopez Galvan and her son. The 43-year-old mother died in the shooting. The family is contending in a lawsuit filed on Wednesday in Jackson County Circuit Court that this was a preventable strategy. Now, I understand the litigious nature of what we currently reside in. Everybody is looking to sue everybody. And it's sad. I mean, it's the reason that, frankly, one of the more underreported parts of inflation the last few years has been insurance costs. Car insurance, homeowners insurance. And that's partially because these companies are paying out more than they ever have. We've got way, way, way too many attorneys, at least in the world of trip and fall attorneys. I'll just leave it at that. I'll be polite today. It's a Friday. I'm in a good mood. I'm happy. Hopefully you are as well. Mark's dragging butt in here. 2 a.m. flight. He landed back in Kansas City with 3 little.
I'm feeling all right.
All right, good.
My mom's not feeling all right with those insurance prices, though. She was telling me doubled the price.
On homeowners or car?
Both.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, just check it. Like many of us, my homeowner's insurance just gets kind of bundled into the mortgage payment. But when you actually look at how much your homeowner's insurance has gone up and your car insurance the last few years, it is one of the more underreported parts of inflation in this country. And part of that's because everyone's looking to sue, and these companies are too busy paying out a lot of this nonsense because, frankly, it's easier for them to give somebody a payment and a settlement than take this stuff to court. They save money doing it, but there still is massive cost associated with it. So you've got a lot of these attorneys out there who are willing to basically sue anybody over anything. And listen, who wouldn't say, yeah, I'll take a free buck? I'm not alleging that's the motivation for the Lopez Galvan family. I am beyond sympathetic as to what this family has gone through. They've lost a wife, they've lost a mother, and it was because of an absolute tragedy. But there's also a fine line here to say, we're going to go after gun sellers. We're going to go after the city of Kansas City. And you know me, I'm not looking to sit here and give the city of Kansas City the benefit of the doubt. But the city of Kansas City, Missouri, had like 800 cops there that day. Okay, there was no checkpoint. It wasn't like being at Arrowhead where you walk through, metal detectors and things like that. But I believe this city had been wildly responsible in how they had tried to put on these parades the last several years. And I hope that Kansas City in some part is willing to fight this. Not because I don't want to see the Lopez Galvan family get, some type of closure based on what happened. But you're telling me that we're going to sue the city, we're going to sue gun sellers. That's the way that this is going to go. Event organizers as well. But nothing around those who actually end up pulling the trigger. Well, there's no money there, obviously. Let's be honest. These are mostly poor people from urban Kansas City. But if we're going to point the finger at everybody who set up the event, right? Everybody involved, the city, the organizers, gun sellers, there's a very obvious party that is missing here. And ask yourself, why? No money. It's really as simple as that. The people that get sued in life are those who actually can settle and have money to pay out people that are suing them. You might say that that's too pessimistic. Maybe it's too simplistic, but it's also true, right? Like, it's just true. And that's why I'm looking at the story and I struggle with it because I don't want to inherently be the person sitting here behind a microphone sounding unsympathetic to a family that has lost a mother and a wife. But I also can't sit here and just let my sympathy for the family slide when it comes to who they're suing and what they're alleging against Kansas City and the organizers of the Super Bowl parade and the gun sellers who sold the guns to the kids who ended up firing those guns at the Super Bowl parade. John, I just can't get myself there.
Well, I'm with you, and I don't want to leave you alone out there. I'm questioning the timing. I would have expected this sooner.
Well,
I
yeah.
suppose. So what took so long? I don't know. I'm questioning what took so long. So I would have thought this would have come sooner.
Yeah, I agree. So prosecutors have filed criminal charges against Dominic Miller, Lindell Mays, Terry Young, and 3 youths following the shooting. The lawsuit names them as defendants, saying they discharged their firearms with the intent to injure, maim, or kill. Also charged, Fado Manning, Ronell Williams Jr., and Chanel Groves in connection with guns that were used in the shooting, and those 3 men are also named as defendants in the civil lawsuit. Although they were not among the shooters, the charges allege the men were involved in illegal straw purchases and trafficking of firearms, including purchasing 2 guns found outside Union Station following the shooting. How far back do you want to track this? Like, this is also, do you not open up the door to suing the gun manufacturers? How far back with this thing do you go? You could keep it going. I don't think it's good for anybody, but at the same time, I understand we're in a world where everybody is trying to get their settlement on a lawsuit. And I just can't get myself on board with this. I want to be, and I am sympathetic to the family, but on this lawsuit, I'm just not on board with it because I think it opens up a world where cities and municipalities say we can't afford to put on any event. We just can't do it. The risk is not worth the reward, and that is not going to be good for Kansas City or any other community for that matter. Coming up next on KCMO, the Royals are pushing back on something they desperately need to push back on. Well, that felt good yesterday. Mark was texting.
I had seen before you guys let me know.
Very nice. And your man, Jack Caglione, finally goes deep, buddy.
Not once, but twice.
That's a
Damn.
welcome back, Mark Van Sickle, after a few days away celebrating his nephew's high school graduation on the left coast. So we'll get into more of that throughout the morning. But the Royals needed that desperately. Now, they're still a ways back in the division because the Tigers are suddenly the 27 Yankees. I don't know what the heck got into Detroit.
Up there, huh?
It's so weird. I don't think anybody expected
Well, that goes back since last year. They've been hot for a while.
Yeah, they have been. So they're sitting there right now, and they're 10.5 games back in the division after the sweep yesterday. And I'm not doing this to make this a sports show. There's a broader conversation here around the stadiums I'll get to here in a second. I promise you, it's coming. It's coming. So right now in the wild card, though, they're only a game and a half back in the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
So they're right in the thick of the playoff race.
They're a game below 500. They win today. They're fifth in a row. They get to 500 again.
Yeah, 37-38 on the season. So they're right in the hunt for the postseason.
Yep.
It's early. But there were reports this week that the Royals were going to be sellers ahead of the trade deadline next month. And J.J. Piccolo, the general manager for the Royals, said that is unequivocally false. And he blasted any reports that they're going to be sellers ahead of the trade deadline. So I'm glad he said that, and he had to say that. And the reason he had to say that is because the Royals are still navigating this stadium deal. They have no choice but to stay competitive and not look like they're selling the 2025 season ahead of July, when they might be on the verge of asking taxpayers once again for hundreds of millions of dollars for a new stadium. Now, we know that they've got this deal now with the state of Missouri. We're 10 days down until the deadline here where the Kansas Star Bond offer is set to expire. God willing, the politicians in Topeka will not extend the Star Bond offer beyond June 30th, 10 days from now. I mean, that is, if I could wish for one thing in our local news cycle right now, no ifs, ands, or buts, June 30th being the official end of the offer for Star Bonds in Kansas is the thing I want more than anything right now in Kansas City news. Because then we will know which side of state line the Royals and Chiefs are going to be on. If Kansas does not extend its Star Bond offer beyond June 30th, then we basically know these teams are staying in Missouri, right? It doesn't mean we know exactly where they're going. Well, we know the Chiefs are staying at Arrowhead then. We may not know where the Royals are going. They could look up north to Clay County, North Kansas City, or they could look to downtown KC Mo. Those will be the two finalists, basically, for the Royals. But if the legislators in Topeka are like, you know what? Let's give these guys another few weeks. They're going to be like, no, don't.
How dare you?
No, don't do it. Where's my Greta Thunberg? No, how dare you do this to us? This needs to end, and it needs to end sooner rather than later. But the Royals cannot be sellers this year as they potentially, one, made the playoffs last year, and then two, potentially look to ask the taxpayer for more money. Because one of the big things that people used against the Royals last year when that Jackson County 3.8 sales tax bombed out was, the team stinks anyway. They don't invest in the product. And then, of course, they go on to make the playoffs last year. So that at least took that talking point away from those who didn't want to fund anything for the stadiums and the teams. Getting to the postseason is good for the Royals. That helps them. Let's be honest. When your team is winning, there's a feel-good mentality that ensues amongst fans and amongst residents. And they say, you know what? These guys are in the playoffs. We love these guys. It's why the Chiefs desperately want the stadium deal done now because they keep going to Super Bowls. The timing is perfect for them. They love it.
Exactly to your points locally on the sports scene. It's just that kind of lazy journalism as we come to a period, the all-star break, where we're going to start deciding who's doing what and just cast the 30,000-foot view. Oh, the Royals suck. They're selling. No. We're not.
No.
Nope. Matter of fact, we're on the ascendance.
Yes.
We just need some outfields.
And Jack is knocking through home runs now. He had 2 yesterday, Jack Caglione. So they've got to basically lean into that and say, no, we are in the thick of the playoff race. They're 10.5 back in the division, but they're right in the wild card race. And they have to double down on this. We are a competitive team and a competitive franchise thing based on what's happening here with the stadium. John Sherman cannot be a seller. He literally can't afford to be a seller right now. So he's got to be all in. And that's why when I saw the report that the Royals might be sellers, I said, no, that's political suicide for them. They cannot do that right now. They can't afford to do that right now. If they do go down that road, there's going to be a lot of backlash from people who are going to say, and you guys want more money from us locally? Fat freaking chance. That ain't happening. But they might happening. But they might be able to do it, of course, without the public involvement, or at least the public vote. And that's where I think Quentin Lucas is at today, the mayor of Kansas City. But the mayor did also note yesterday, any thoughts of 18th and Vine? Not happening. All right, that is something that Ollie Gates of course, Gates Barbecue fame was floating out to Channel 5. 2 days ago, Channel 5 had this report of, hey, you know what? We may try to get the Royals down to 18th and Vine area, which, as John and I were talking about yesterday, actually makes sense to try to highlight the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. It's an underappreciated crown jewel if you're a baseball fan, if you're a historian in Kansas City. I know we think it gets a lot of attention, but I'll give you a great example. I'm a diehard baseball fan. Before I got here 7+ years ago now, I had no idea that deal was right there in Kansas City.
Right.
I didn't have a clue. And then I go to it, and I'm like, this is awesome. It's great. So in a perfect world, you would tie in the Negro Leagues Museum to some new Royals baseball stadium. But it's not going to happen for a multitude of reasons.
Right, and it's kind of typical of this town. It's a good idea, but the timing it's like, wait a minute, we should have been maybe working towards this 5 years ago. We do things where we stick on another level to Kemper Arena instead of going ahead and building what became Sprint Center. That could have been started 10 years earlier. So we kind of do things like this, and it's like, it's a great idea, but that's what gets people frustrated. They have a good idea, but then the implementation's just all out of whack.
Exactly.
It frustrates people.
And Ollie Gates is like 2 years late to the party, with all due respect. And Quentin Lucas, he loves
anybody else, really, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So Quentin Lucas, I asked him about this yesterday, the Royals going down to the 18th and Vine area, and he basically said it's not happening in a very, very political way because he loves Ollie Gates and Gates Barbecue.
I love Ollie. I have probably eaten like 3,000 pounds of his food in my lifetime.
What a politician. 3,000 pounds of food. Oh, come on. Not even 300, please.
So, and I have loved his impact and influence on redevelopment of 18th and Vine and the eastern 18th Street corridor. Here's the challenge, right? And actually the television story, which isn't always surprising, but got a bit of it wrong. And they said the former KCATA headquarters. No, that's the current. That is where the buses park. That's where the ATA is. So you have them. And then you also have the Kansas City School District, which owns a huge parcel of land right there. And so, look, it could be doable. Of course, what you would have to do, though, is then negotiate with 2 additional government organizations.
Listen to Quentin Lucas there. It could be doable. It's like when your spouse says to you, hey, can we redo the bathroom? Now, you can with the Plumbing Pro. They've got a great deal out there right now. But you start hemming and hawing and you kind of make the case as to why you can't without saying no, right? That's what Quentin Lucas is doing there. Doesn't want to insult Ollie Gates, doesn't want to insult 18th and Vine. But the reality is this. If the Royals stay on the Missouri side, there are 2 locations, Washington Square Park or North Kansas City. That's it. And Ollie Gates and Emmanuel Cleaver and other folks can talk about 18th and Vine, but it's not going to happen. And Quentin Lucas, in a very political way yesterday, confirmed that on this show. Coming up, the 6 at 6, top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour. You don't want to miss here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, and streaming on the free KCMO Talk Radio app. Now, speaking of our great partners here on this show, well, and deals. You want a deal? Diamonds Direct right now is offering you a free wedding band when you buy the engagement ring at Diamonds Direct. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding you. And I've told the story this week, but when Kate and I got engaged 13 years ago, I was so naive that I didn't realize that after you bought an engagement ring, that the woman also got a wedding band. Now, I grew up with boys. I didn't think about that stuff. We didn't care about that stuff. But, if I knew 13 years ago what I knew now, I might have gone to Diamonds Direct because instead, you get the engagement ring. You're like, woo, boy, I'm safe. I did it. No, then you got the wedding band too. So at Diamonds Direct, you're just killing two birds with one stone here. You buy, no pun intended, you buy the engagement ring and then you get the wedding band for free. Go to Angie and her team. You'll get the great white glove service that you would get from anywhere in Kansas City, but even better. They got champagne, they got a kids' play area, whatever you need. And you do not get the pushy sales experience at Diamonds Direct. They'll take great care of you. Angie was out at our Guy Benson event last week. So make sure you go in there, tell them that we sent you at KCMO Talk Radio. And if you're ready to propose, now is the time to stop dragging your feet. Start shopping at diamondsdirect.com or go to 119th and Row. It is 6:50 on a Friday here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, and it is that time of the morning.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on 95.7 KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
Let's start with the heat advisory that is in effect today and tomorrow. And this is going to be by far the hottest temperatures of the year. We are going to get afternoon highs today and tomorrow that will be in the 90s, and it will hang out throughout the weekend with heat index values exceeding 100 degrees. Winds will be picking back up, gusts between 35 and 40 miles an hour, and expect that heat to continue into next week. Slightly lower humidity, but continued high temperatures into the 90s. So summer is here. No doubt about it.
Number 2.
Next up on the national news fronts, as we learned from the White House yesterday, Caroline Leavitt at the podium saying that we are in the final 2 weeks of President Trump in making a decision on what to do with Iran. Here's what Caroline Leavitt had to say.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
So we continue to monitor that situation overseas, and really it could happen at any moment. I don't think that's a hard 2-week deadline. I think that's Trump just throwing out a round number of, we'll decide in the next couple of weeks what exactly we're going to do. But obviously, we'll continue to monitor that as we are 1 week removed from those first strikes by Israel against Iran's nuclear sites.
Number 3.
Well, speaking of Trump, he posted this yesterday at the end of the day on Juneteenth, which of course is now a federal holiday. And Mark, I think you've been off now 3 straight Juneteenths. So did you have a good celebration yesterday, buddy?
Man, we didn't celebrate as well as we did last year. Mostly just flying.
Yeah, that's right. You're flying back to Kansas
Missed
City.
the cookout.
But it is becoming quite a day for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think 3 straight years Mark's been off just by happenstance. Go figure. Trump puts up on Truth Social yesterday, too many non-working holidays in America. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. I'm not sure what exactly that means, but anyway, I get what he's going for. He says here, it must change if we're going to, all caps, make America great again. He's not wrong. We've got way too many non-working holidays. It's not just a Juneteenth thing. But we'll talk more about that later this morning here on KCMO, because I wanted to get your input on social media last night on what federal holidays we should be dropping. And you were a lot more diverse in your choices than I thought you would be, to be totally frank. So we'll get to more of that 8 o'clock hour here on KCMO.
Number 4.
Next up in the 6 at 6. Well, we had a second fatality crash yesterday. We woke up yesterday and I-70 was shut down at Highway 40 because of a fatality accident. And then yesterday afternoon, there was a deadly crash involving a passenger vehicle and a semi on I-435 near Cookingham Drive. Happened at about 6:30 p.m. A gray Toyota RAV4 traveling eastbound crossed the median and collided with a westbound semi. The driver of the Toyota, who was not wearing a seatbelt, was ejected and pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the semi was not injured. So this was a mess yesterday at westbound 435. It was closed for a while at Northwest Cookingham and US 169 highway. But that was 2 yesterday that resulted in fatality accidents around Kansas City.
Number 5.
Next up in the 6 at 6, in Lee's Summit, IHOP workers have gone weeks without paychecks and air conditioning. Man, it's one thing to not get paid, but you want to talk about the double groin. You're also not getting AC, which means you're not getting customers. So good job by Matt Fleener. investigative reporter at Channel 9, KMBC, highlighting this. But you've got workers who have gone 6 weeks without getting paid, and they don't have AC at the Lee Summit IHOP. And for those saying, hey, well, you know what? Everybody should quit. Sometimes it's not that easy. It's not. Because a lot of people are like, well, if I quit, I get paid for the last month and a half. And that's a reasonable point to consider. But good job on that investigative reporting by Channel 9 last night.
Number 6.
And we'll end it on a sports note, not the Royals, all right, because we talked about them plenty. They did sweep the Rangers yesterday. But we are getting a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. After last night, the Pacers blew out the Thunder in Indianapolis 108-91. So we get a Game 7 NBA Finals in Oklahoma City Sunday night on ABC. And I'm not a big NBA guy, but I will probably watch a Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
So let me get this right. The longest season of the year ends on the longest day of the year?
yeah, more or less. Well done. Coming up at 7, ice showed up at a Major League Baseball stadium. Why? We'll tell you next on KCMO. Can I say that both sides may have screwed up on this one? Am I allowed to say that? 7:05. Good morning. Happy Friday. It is great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So yesterday I saw the post on X that many of you may have ended up seeing, and that is that ICE agents, according to the LA Dodgers social media feed, came to Dodger Stadium and requested permission to access the parking lots. The Dodgers reported on X that the ICE agents were denied entry to the grounds by the organization. Tonight's game will be played as scheduled. So the Dodgers made a big deal of this. The Dodgers did not have to blow up ICE's spot on social media. They made that decision. And it was a bad decision because this could have happened and nobody could have known about it. And it would have been like, hey, can we use your facilities? Can we come in? And Dodgers say no, which, by the way, they're allowed to do. I mean, unless you have the warrant, right? The Dodgers, as a private business, let's be fair, do not have to allow somebody in unless that somebody, i.e. ICE, has the proper paperwork. But then to go on social media and fan the flames of the issue, which is what the Dodgers did, that is so irresponsible and completely unnecessary. I mean, they're acting like ICE was coming in to ship Ohtani back to Japan so he couldn't hit a couple of home runs last night or something. I mean, what's the point of this? Or like ICE was going to be walking through tailgates in Dodger Stadium parking lot and being like, hey, you here legally there, young man? Get over here with that beer. Is that an open container I see? You here legally or not? Like, come on. That wasn't going to happen either. I mean, the Dodgers acting like they're protecting all their illegal immigrant fans. Don't worry, come to the game tonight. Like, hey, if I had a ticket to the game last night at Dodger Stadium, I wouldn't really have been worried anyway. And most 99.9% of people would not have been worried because if you were here legally, why would ICE be looking for you in the parking lot of a Dodgers game? But where ICE made a mistake here is by incorporating the Dodgers in anything and giving this sports franchise, and frankly, any franchise with this kind of platform, the benefit of the doubt. So the Dodgers claim yesterday that they denied ICE access to the parking lots at Dodger Stadium. Now, what happened here is ICE responded, saying this had nothing to do with the Dodgers. They write here, CBP, Customs and Border Protection vehicles, were in the stadium parking lot very briefly, unrelated to any operation or enforcement. So what happened here? CNN reports that U.S. Customs and Border Protection vehicles were in a nearby parking lot on or near the grounds of the stadium. And one of them had a car malfunction that caused them to stay longer, according to a CBP official who maintained there were no operations related to the Major League Baseball club. CNN adds here there had been an influx of CBP agents in the LA area on the heels of the protests against President Trump's immigration and enforcement agenda. The Department of Homeland Security surged agency personnel to the region, including border agents, to respond to those protests, and many have remained in the area. But CBP made it clear in a statement that this had nothing to do with the Dodgers. CBP vehicles were in the stadium parking lot very briefly and unrelated to any operation or enforcement. So if that's the case, I'm just sitting back and saying, guys, you know I got your back there. You know I got your back. But you got to be a little smarter when dealing with somebody like the Dodgers, who has made it clear they would love to blow up your spot. I mean, all these major businesses and a lot of these sports franchises have all put out these big social media posts pushing back on the administration. We've seen that the last couple of weeks. Now, if this were to happen here in Kansas City, I'm pretty sure the Royals wouldn't do that. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past them, but I don't think the Royals would take this approach. Plus, even if you're illegal, you want to hide out in Truman Sports Complex, that's probably not the best place to be hanging out when there's not a game going on. There's a lot better places to hang out than the Truman Sports Complex. But either way, you've got to look at it and say to yourself, ICE needs to think 2 steps ahead on this. They've just got to take a step back, take a deep breath and think about the optics here too. And that's something that I believe got overlooked on this very issue, John.
Well, and I would think it would be a matter of economics. I'm not sure if it's a wise expenditure of money. Don't the Dodgers fans come in the third inning and leave by the sixth? So how many do you catch anyway?
Yeah, that's true, man.
Right.
Well done. They're in late and they're out early.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. So the other thing I wanted to note here on ICE is that this story from Breitbart shares here that ICE agents are now facing a 500% increase in assaults. Well, first off, that's because they're actually allowed to do their job now, right? I mean, for the last 4 years, they couldn't really do their job. And now they're doing their job, but they're obviously dealing with pushback and blowback. And Breitbart reports here that Department of Homeland Security data exclusively obtained by Breitbart shows that ICE agents are now facing a 500% increase in assaults as they attempt to locate and arrest illegal aliens living in the United States. That's a bad number, but like anything else, when these people have not been allowed to be proactive in their jobs, you are going to see that increase no matter what, right? And that's sad to come to the obvious conclusion on, but it's also true. This is how this was going to go. The question is, we talk about bringing the temperature down, and you can easily make the case that obviously both sides have a responsibility in doing that. But this is the kind of data that should be blasted all over the internet and all over media, because you do have ICE agents who are just doing the jobs that they have been hired to do. Regardless of what you feel about it, these people have been hired to do a job. They are legally allowed to do that job. And now that job is 5 times as dangerous as it was a year ago because of the sentiment that is out there. And that's something that when we talk about violence in America and political violence in America, this needs to be part of the conversation. It's got to be. So I'll share this on social media because I just stumbled upon the stories and I'm like, wait, what? And we knew that they were obviously facing more dangerous situations. But a 500% increase? That is totally inexcusable. And we talk about what happened in Minnesota last week with these poor politicians, right? We talk about that level of political violence. Well, ICE agents being attacked at a 500% higher rate, that's also dangerous political violence that needs to be addressed. Now, on the lighter baseball note, Jack Caglione hit his first home run of his career. Big stud Royals prospect, Royals sweep career yesterday. The pitch was 4.22 feet above the ground. That is the second highest pitch that anyone has hit a home run off of this year. Do you see that there, Mark?
I didn't see the stat, but I saw that it was a high fastball, and he can get a hold of any pitch.
Well, since they started tracking this data, like how high the pitch is off the plate, this is the highest pitch that a Royals player has hit a home run off of since they started tracking this back in 2008. So that first home run, I mean, it was way out of the strike zone. It was way up there.
That was super high.
And to turn around and have the bat speed and the power to hit that one over the right field wall, like stud rookie Jack Caglione did yesterday. I'll tell you what, he's an American citizen, but if he wasn't, ICE agents ain't screwing with him after that kind of power that he showed yesterday on his first career home run. I mean, you got to have some juice to get that ball over the right field fence in the way that he did yesterday.
He was actually getting respect from some guys in the Dallas airport. They saw me in my Royals gear, and they're like, man, that Jack Caglione guy.
Oh,
he's
really?
looking good. Yep.
Oh, man. There you go, Mark. Oh, boy. You must have been on cloud 9 yesterday, buddy.
I was excited about that.
Oh, man. Look at that. Good for you. Made Mark's week. Good to have you back, my man. 7:15, happy Friday morning. Coming up next, it is the 50th anniversary of a legendary movie. And I've got a little tidbit on this as people are writing about it. that I did not know, and we'll share it with you next. Today is the 50th anniversary of Jaws, Steven Spielberg's 1975 masterpiece. I'm channeling my inner Bill O'Reilly with a 1975 reference here. Bill would be very proud 50 years after the fact. I was hoping he would touch on this in his morning update today. Instead, he decides to fawn over Caitlin Collins. I almost said Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Collins, which I did not have on my bingo card.
Nor did I.
This morning. So we are 50 years removed from Jaws. And I've seen a lot of different media outlets touch on this morning. But I was going through some of the trivia around Jaws' 50th anniversary. Now, John, did you see this when this came out in 1975?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Was this one of those like too cool for school things?
Yeah,
okay.
for
All
me.
right. All right. It was. Okay. So you weren't.
It was a big movie, so anything real huge, I'm nah.
Yeah. Now, John had the long hair. He was like, I'm not doing that. Too cool for school. I get it. But of course, you came around on it. Maybe? No? Did you come around on this movie?
I was trying to realize if I have actually ever seen the whole movie complete.
Really?
From start to finish. I don't think I have.
Wow. I didn't have that on the bingo card either, which would be you not seeing Jaws all the way through, whereas I was born 13 years after it came out, and I've seen it all the way through multiple times. Wow. Okay.
Kind of came cliche sort of suddenly, you know. It's iconic in that cliche.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. So Spielberg did this at 26 years old. He put together Jaws. And one of the things that I liked as I was going through the trivia here of Jaws as it came out 50 years ago today is that there was a lot of controversy around Jaws rated PG. Now, at the time, there was no PG-13. That began in 1984 with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But the debate was this movie an R-rated movie or a PG movie? And the justification for making it PG is that Jaws' violent nature was not about man-on-man violence, that it was basically animal violence. Therefore, they decided, this is not an R-rated movie. This is a PG-rated movie. I would have made it R-rated. I mean, you have people, losing their lives at the hand of a shark. So I think this is an R-rated movie in hindsight in 1975. But they elected to go with the PG decision on Jaws, which was I would say a mistake in hindsight. This is like, I've got a 6-year-old. PG is supposed to be 7 and up. I'm not showing her Jaws in a year. I'm just not doing it.
Real quick, we used to have the movie ratings G, M, R, and X. M for mature audiences. That became PG for a second. We thought, no, that looks like pregnant. Yeah. No, that looks like pregnant.
Yeah.
So it was GP for about 10 seconds, meaning that parental guidance. And of course, guidance parental.
Yeah.
And then it finally went to parental guidance. Then we put the 13 on there. So I think that M originally was what PG-13 really was. It set the bar higher between G and PG.
Gotcha.
But anyway, I digress. I still think that works, but that's where we're at today. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, Charlton Heston wanted to play the Amity Island police chief, but Spielberg instead cast Roy Schneider. And that was a home run pick. I still think Quinn's the best guy in the movie. I love him. Of all the characters in that movie, he is by far my favorite. The old crusty boat guy who goes out and help him try to take out Jaws.
Good character.
I love him. I love his character. But I'll give you a quick Jaws story here. So if you've been down to Universal Studios in Orlando next to Disney World, I don't know if it's still there. But 30 years ago in the mid-'90s, there was a Jaws ride. And, you'd get on this boat and with like 20 other people. And there would be this shark, like Jaws, that would kind of come around the boat and, get water into the boat and the whole thing. And, if you're a certain age, it's kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
So we go down there in the mid-'90s. So I'm probably 8. My middle brother's 6. The youngest guy's 2. So I don't think he was on there. But somehow my 6-year-old brother at the time, give or take, he might have been 5. Somehow he ends up on the side of the boat, like the end of the boat, what would be the window seat on a plane. So he's like right there on the side. And I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but somehow he ends up in that seat. And this massive fake shark is coming up on him multiple times and getting water all over him And I mean, it's scary for a 6-year-old, right?
That's
Right.
traumatizing.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's traumatizing.
It is.
So we get home from the trip. He wouldn't poop in the toilet for weeks. He would not go to the bathroom in the toilet because he thought the shark was going to jump out of the water in the toilet.
Reasonable.
So he was going on the floor. And you know what? In hindsight, my parents deserve that
Yeah.
for putting him in the chair they put him in
I think.
on that ride. I mean, I remember feeling bad for him and also at the time being like, come on, dude, poop in the toilet. But in hindsight, my parents deserve every bit of that to be cleaning up his poop on the floor of the bathroom because they put him in that seat on that ride. And now as a parent, I view it totally differently than I did as a kid. Coming up, Josh Hawley. I just had to get that one off my chest on the 50th anniversary of Jaws coming out. No sympathy whatsoever. It's funny how your viewpoints on things from your childhood are different once you have kids yourself. Coming up, Josh Hawley is at odds with Donald Trump. We'll tell you why next on KCMO Talk Radio. Well, as we sit here on a Friday morning, we are monitoring, of course, the situation in Iran. We learned yesterday from the White House that they are about 2 weeks out from making a decision as to whether or not they will be involved in the strikes against Iranian nuclear sites. And I think that is a very loose 2 weeks. I think that Trump just threw out a number that he liked yesterday and told Caroline Leavitt to go ahead with 2 weeks because, as Trump has noted, he's not going to signal anything that he is going to do here as commander-in-chief, John, and nor should he be signaling any of this.
Right. Well, I wonder if the taco crowd's getting all giddy.
Oh, they are.
Running their little clock.
Oh, they are, John. This is the headline on Drudge Report, which, of course, Drudge has just gone completely left. Trump tacos for 2 weeks. That is the Trump always chickens out moniker for those who don't know. So this is like
World
such a
annihilation. He chickened out on world annihilation.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And then if he had attacked Iran the other day, let's say, they'd be like, Trump sparks World War III.
Trying to take over, dictator, taking over the world.
It's just, I mean, it's so predictable from some of these outlets. But you did have this yesterday. Josh Hawley, Missouri U.S. Senator, talking to CNN. And Josh Hawley, listen, we know that he's kind of more in line with some of the isolationists in the Republican Party. And here's the thing. I think the isolationists generally are wrong. I also think that the Lindsey Grahams and the warmongers are wrong. I think both extreme factions of the Republican Party on foreign policy are wrong. I think Trump is actually in the middle on this issue based on where the Republican Party is at. And he's the one who is actually navigating this in the most responsible way. And I know even people that love Trump may not always admit that when it comes to the word responsible, it's not usually connected with the president at the hip. We all understand that. But on this specific issue, foreign policy in general, he has navigated that isolationist wing of the party with the more warmongering wing of the party very effectively. And it worked very well during Trump 1.0. And thus far, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt during 2.0. So here's what Missouri U.S. Senator Josh Hawley told CNN yesterday.
It's a very different thing, though, for us to then say, but we are going to offensively, affirmatively go strike Iran or insert ourselves in the conflict. That to me that's a whole different matter. I'd be real concerned about. But I don't think there's a need for us, the United States, to affirmatively insert ourselves. I mean, I think that is a whole different kettle of fish.
So that is Josh Hawley in a very soft way criticizing the president. That's what that is. Now, Josh Hawley's had an interesting couple of weeks here, right? I mean, last week he was giving exclusives to CBS News, and he was saying $15 an hour minimum wage. Let's go, baby. Woo! Yeah, where's my boy Bernie Sanders? Now he's trying to navigate this Iran versus Israel deal by saying, well, if we insert ourselves, is that the most responsible decision? Well, here's the thing. This notion that if we just sit back and do nothing, these people might not chant death to America. Come on. They've been doing this for decades. They're not going to chant death to America less if we don't do anything. On the other hand, if, as J.D. Vance, who is one of the flag bearers of the isolationist wing of the Republican Party, if J.D. Vance is saying on social media, as he was this week, that, listen, these guys in Iran, they've got the capabilities and the capacity to put together a nuclear weapon, and we need to take that threat seriously. If J.D. Vance is saying that based on the information that he has, then I am more than willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and take J.D. Vance's word, because he is not somebody who has, frankly, any interest in going down the road of having any involvement overseas. None whatsoever. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. But when you hear Josh Hawley say that, are you like, rah, Josh, go get him, Missouri U.S. Senator? Or are you saying to yourself, hold on here, pump the brakes. Josh Hawley's got to get on board with what the administration is doing, allow them to do their thing, and frankly, take the leader of the party, who has been very cautious and very responsible when it comes to any kind of overseas involvement, at his word. 913-408-7957. Let's go to Victor. He's in Parkville. What's up, Victor? How are you?
Oh, good morning. This is really starting to irritate the hell out of me. What is he doing? Trying to lock up the St. Louis vote? St. Louis vote? Because a lot of the people that I know out here, the conservatives, they're getting really irritated with his stances on things, his social policies, like you said, whether it was the minimum wage or the no Medicaid thing when we're trying to make cuts and try to get rid of fraud. And now he's taking a peacenik thing on this. I get news for you, Josh. We're already inserted. We've been inserted in this since 1979, since the hostages were taken. And, I know that everybody's all, well, they're taking away their ballistic missile capability, yada, yada. Well, okay, what if they just put one on a boat and then float it right into Boston Harbor? What do you think that's going to do?
Yeah.
Or down in Galveston or San Pedro? They don't need to shoot a missile. And it's in the middle of the ocean. Nobody's going to go out there with a Geiger counter. Come on, people. Let's be real here. These people have hated our guts for a long, long time. And just like the 9/11
Victor,
said,
don't you think
they're at war
there's
with us.
Josh Hawley's approach is more like Barack Obama in many ways? It's this Obama thing of like, well, we don't want to insert ourselves because I want to escalate things. They chant death to America. It doesn't mean we want troops on the ground in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't mean we want Lindsey Graham, to get get all excited, literally and figuratively, about some next conflict overseas. But my goodness.
I don't think Donald Trump wants to put boots on the ground.
No.
We have enough air capability to do it. But I will go all the way back to the end of the Iraq War, and I blame George W. Bush. We had 100,000 troops and all the material there. We had all the evidence we needed that Iran was inserting themselves into Baghdad and into the insurgency in Iraq. We just should have pivoted and marched on to Tehran when we were there.
Thank
That's
you.
just my opinion.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, Victor. That
You
is
too, sir.
well said, my man. Mike in Kansas City. Go ahead, Mike. You're on KCMO.
Yeah, follow up to this other guy. He forgot to mention that Obama gave him $1.7 billion in cash in euros and Swiss francs. You remember that a few years ago? That facilitated a lot of this stuff. And all of this that we're in today is 100% failures of Jimmy Carter, because Jimmy Carter had bad advice. They pulled out the American support of the Shah, who was not a good guy to begin with anyway. These crazies went in there. And the women, especially in Iran, have suffered for the last 50 years because of the Democrat Party, the party of the women, basically set up this environment for them. So, yeah, we are inserted over there. If anything, we're going to be cleaning up the mess that Jimmy Carter made 50 years ago.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that goes back to administration acknowledged that it transferred $1.7 billion to Iran earlier in the year. That was made entirely in cash using non-U.S. currency. It was initially 400 million in euros and other foreign currency that was delivered. And then, of course, in turn, what did we get? Well, Tehran released 4 American prisoners. So that was, Obama's foreign policy. It failed miserably. And frankly, there are plenty of Republicans on board with this as well right now, with that strategy. And I can't understand why. John in Topeka. Go ahead, John.
Hey, good morning, Pete. I am anti-war. I am against any war in the Middle East. But when Iran is actually asking for war, I'm not going to tell President Trump, hey, don't sit back with your boots off on the side. Put your boots on, get ready to kick somebody in the backside and let them know that we're not going to sit around and let you have the nuclear bomb. And because Israel went in and did what they're doing, and I also read in the newspapers there around October last year that Iran was suspected of popping off a test in the Sinman region, whatever, because there was a earthquake that resembled a nuclear test in that region where they have their facilities at. Well, it's close to there. It's about 50 miles off. But anyhow, they the newspapers on the other side of the world said there was a nuke test that actually happened and it's suspected. So these guys going in and doing this, I'm thinking that they're really close to actually doing it, and they will follow through with the death to America. And it doesn't take them having a direct strike on America. All he's got to do is get one of those small nukes up above the United States and get an EMP, and bam, we are done for 10 years. I mean, because of the way the infrastructure is, we're not nuclear hardened. It would drop our entire grid. It would kill 100 million people in 6 months.
Yeah. John, the shocker of that call, though, is you said that you read the newspaper. Do you read a physical newspaper, or are you talking about online reading the newspaper?
Online.
Okay. All right. Just want to clarify. Just want to clarify. All right. Good work, my man. Thanks for chiming in. We appreciate that. 913-408-7957. That's the number to call right now for your second to last chance to win Country Stampede tickets. Azura Amphitheater next weekend. Luke Bryan, Miranda Lambert, Cole Swindell, Ashley McBride, and others will be out at Azura Amphitheater. We have 3-day passes, and we are giving them away right now to the seventh caller. 913-408-7957. Steve Moore will be here at 8:05. Former economic advisor to President Trump. We will get his input on the beef with Jerome Powell and much more. Economically, tariff-wise, Steve Moore is less than 20 minutes away on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. All right, if you are just maybe hopping out of the shower and saying to yourself, man, I have got to redo the bathroom. It's time. Well, we talk about The Plumbing Pro in Kansas City as being the go-to place for residential and commercial plumbing. And yeah, they do that every day. They've done that for the better part of 50 years. But they also are in the shower remodeling business. And they're offering KCMO listeners what they are calling Pete's Deal. That is $2,000 off and 12 months, same as cash with approved credit, when you use The Plumbing Pro for your bathroom remodel. The shower replacements, bathtub replacements, they can be in and out in as quickly as a couple of days. And the best part is locally owned and operated, and you get the same guys start to finish on the project. It's not like national sales guy hands off to regional manager, and then you get the guys who are actually doing the job, and no one's in coordination on what to do in your bathroom. You get the same folks start to finish, locally owned, locally operated business, and you just go to theplumbingpro.com. Make sure you fit the in theplumbingpro.com. And reach out, say you want Pete's Deal, and get that bathroom upgraded today. $2,000 off, 12 months, same as cash. Theplumbingpro.com. Who won those Country Stampede 3-day passes, John?
Angie in Overland Park at the Country Stampede, rolling into Kansas City Azura Amphitheater next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Luke Bryan, Miranda Lambert, Cole Swindell, Ashley McBride, a whole lot more. Got another chance to win our final one of the week, right?
10:45.
Yep, with Kietzman coming up.
There you go. Well done there. Nice job. Very nice job. Steve Moore is just over 10 minutes away here on KCMO. He was an economic advisor to the President of the United States during 1.0. He will be here just after the 8 o'clock news. So we were just talking, Obama just came up. This was funny on the text line. Pete, I think we need to call Josh Hawley Barack O'Hawley. I don't know what that sounds like. It sounds like a confused Irishman, Barack O'Hawley. Sounds like a guy who's getting dragged out of the bar by his wife at 3 a.m. or something, getting kicked down the road. I don't know, but that's pretty funny because, frankly, Josh Hawley and some of these Republicans are much more in line with Barack Obama and his failed foreign policy than they are where Trump is at. And this was on the text line here. Pete, I think that many of the isolationist concerns for millennials like you and I are sitting there thinking, do you want to be 65 and lived your entire life when there hasn't been a decade when the U.S. has not been involved in some type of conflict? Well, if that happens, it's not our fault. Right? Like, now, don't get me wrong. Iraq was an awful decision and was George W. Bush's fault. Like, there's no doubt about that. But, and while you can't predict this stuff, if Trump elects in the next couple of weeks to go ahead and basically help Israel finish off Iran when it comes to their nuclear capabilities, will I view that as some type of long-term conflict that we got wrapped up in? No, I think the point of doing that, and if Trump does make that decision, the purpose will be to make it swift, to finish it quickly, and to basically take out the threat and avoid some type of larger conflict if it's just aerial in nature. I think that's the point of Trump potentially doing what he may elect to do as the commander-in-chief. To first off, protect us here in the United States, but also make sure that we don't get ourselves wrapped into some type of longer-term conflict in that part of the world. That's part of the goal here. Now, Caroline Leavitt is the White House press secretary, and she spoke yesterday at the podium about Iran and the deadline, and here's what she had to say.
When the president said a few weeks away, did he mean obtaining enough enriched uranium to start building a weapon, or did he mean Iran is a few weeks away from completing the production of a weapon?
I'm glad you asked that, Weija. It's an important question, and it's one, frankly, the media has been getting wrong. Let's be very clear. Iran has all that it needs to achieve a nuclear weapon. All they need is a decision. All they need is a decision from the supreme leader to do that. And it would take a couple of weeks to complete the production of that weapon, which would, of course, pose an existential threat, not just to Israel, but to the United States and to the entire world. And that is something that the entire world, including countries like Russia, is in agreement with, that Iran should not and cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. And that's why the president believes that, and he's believed that, again, not just his political career, but frankly, his entire life.
And another layer of all this is that Russia and China are watching this very closely. And I think that's part of the equation here that Trump is calculating. Russia and China, obviously two of the worst actors, if not the two worst actors on the world stage, are watching what is happening right now in the Middle East and saying, what do we do? What is our next move? And what is this guy Trump going to do? If we were to acquiesce, China is going to be licking its chops and looking at Taiwan and saying, let's go, baby. It's time. They'll say neither side of the political aisle in the United States has the cojones to do what they need to do to, defend key allies around the world. That's what will happen with China. And Russia, who knows? I mean, is Putin any closer to getting to the table with Ukraine? He might be. I mean, at some point, he's just not going to have the manpower, the weaponry to do what he needs to do. And the backbone of all this, the most important thing that the administration is doing, because people are also freaking out and they're saying, oh, man, gas price is going to skyrocket. Trump having the drill, baby, drill attitude here in the United States is such a key component to this entire equation. That as we're more reliant on our domestic production here in the United States and less reliant on overseas, that gives us the flexibility here in the U.S. to not worry about what these guys do with their oil and how that may impact us here in the United States. Steve Moore is a former economic advisor to President Trump. We'll ask him about where things are at with global trade, interest rates, and more next. 8:04. Good morning. Glad you're here on KCMO. We are happy to welcome on and say hello to our good friend Steve Moore. He, of course, worked for Donald Trump as an economic advisor during his first term. He is now the founder of Unleash Prosperity, and you should be signing up for their newsletter. If you're not already signed up for Unleash Prosperity, you see him on Fox News and Fox Business all the time. And Steve, let's just start here. The beef between the president and Jerome Powell on interest rates. Tell me,
Right.
which side of this boxing match you're taking.
Well, it's an interesting story because what happened was that the Fed is supposed to be politically independent and divorced from politics, but Jerome Powell is probably the most more politicized the Fed more than any other Fed chairman probably in history. And so do you remember right before the election, about a month before the election, the Fed started cutting interest rates? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they cut 2 or 3 times, I think by 75 basis points. And everyone knows that was just a way to try to pump prime the economy to help Kamala Harris get elected. Because Jerome Powell hates Trump. And so he's trying to keep him out of the White House. Well, that failed. And by the way, there was no we still had a lot of inflation under Biden. So there was no possible rationale for why you would lower rates when you still had inflation running at 3 or 4%. So then Trump comes in, and all of a sudden the inflation rates falls, and we're probably about 2.5% inflation right now, depending on what measure you want to look at. And Powell decided yesterday he would not lower rates. Now, I'm kind of on the fence on this, whether we should be lowering rates right now or not. I mean, given what's going on in the Middle East right now and the higher oil prices and so on, I'm still a little bit worried about inflation because of the international turmoil that's going on. But you could make a case either way. You really could. Trump wanted lower rates, and most of my friends say we should probably lower rates. I would have been fine with lowering rates by maybe a quarter percentage point or half a percentage point. But Powell basically said, no, I'm not going to do it because of tariffs. And what he was really saying is, I'm not going to do it because I hate Trump. And so you've got a situation now where the Fed is lowering rates when the Democrats are in office, and raising them or keeping them high when the Republicans are in. And a lot of us are complaining about that, saying that's not fair. And
Well,
it's just mixing politics with monetary policy.
Is it possible that two things are true at once here? Jay Powell, the Fed chair, is being political in his decision, but it
Yes.
may be the right decision because we're still not down to 2% inflation, which is where the
That's my
Fed
point,
wants
yeah.
to be. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you. You did a better job summarizing that than I did. Look, we don't need that. We don't even need a Federal Reserve Board. All we need to do is just have a price rule. Why do you have a currency in the first place? What is the value of a currency? We all learned that in our Economics 100. It's to retain value and to be a medium of exchange. And we've been blessed in the United States because the world reserve currency. That's a huge, huge advantage we have over every other country. All transactions globally are done in dollars. Everybody's holding on to these pieces of paper. And so that's like an interest-free loan the rest of the world makes to the United States. And so we obviously want to keep the dollar as good as gold, as my friend Steve Forbes would say. Steve Forbes wants to link back to the gold price, and I'd be in favor of anything but having these guys make up the rules as they go along. And remember, Jerome Powell will go down in history as being one of the greatest failures in the Federal Reserve Board. He's the one who let prices rise by almost 30% in 4 years under Joe Biden's presidency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. He was definitely late, and the too late Jerome, or whatever Trump calls him, is fairly accurate.
Right.
You're right about
There you
that.
go.
So take me through. We're still figuring out the big, beautiful bill. It's right now sitting on the Senate side, but there's this weird deal going on where you have Republicans like one of our own, Josh Hawley here in Missouri, who's like insistent that we don't touch Medicaid, despite the fact that there is a lot of corruption and wasteful spending around Medicaid. So how do you see this? Because this appears to be a roadblock in the Senate right now amongst Republicans.
Yeah. So, you've got Josh Hawley there in Missouri who's saying don't cut Medicaid, and we're not cutting Medicaid. Let me shout this from the rooftops. We are not cutting Medicaid. Medicaid is expected to double over the next 20 years in cost. In just the last 5 or 6 years, it's grown by 50%. It's the fastest growing program in the budget, number one. Number two, according to the government's own auditors, this isn't me or Elon Musk. This is the government's own auditing agencies that tell us that last year, 100. Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down, Pete?
I'm always sitting talking to you, Steve. All right, so give me the juice here.
100. I mean, this number is jaw dropping. 150 billion, not 150 million. 150 billion dollars was stolen from Medicaid by fraudsters, people who are not eligible for the program are collecting it. So this tries to stop the fraud. In other words, saying if you're an illegal immigrant or something like that and you're not eligible for the program, it also says, look, if you're able-bodied, if you're of working age and you're able to work and you're not working, then we're not going to give you the benefits. Now, you should either be in a job training program or in a job. If you're just sitting on your butt watching TV or playing video games all day, sorry, you're not going to get free food stamps. You're not going to get, free health care from the taxpayers. I mean, it's just not fair. So what's wrong with that?
I'm with you. Steve Moore, former economic advisor to President Trump, is
By
here.
the way, Pete,
yeah.
Let me just say something. It's not just you who are with, I'm glad you are, but about 70% of Americans agree with that.
Yeah.
Polls show overwhelmingly Americans believe that if somebody's getting a welfare benefit, they should be, and they can work, they should be working. There's 7 million jobs open in America.
So what about this fear then that Hawley and others are noting, saying that this is going to defund rural hospitals?
I'm not an expert on that. I've heard that argument too. I'm not, I don't think that I don't think the solution to the rural hospital program is to allow illegal immigrants to get welfare benefits. Let's put it like that. Yeah. I mean, there must be a better solution to the problem of rural hospitals than saying people are not eligible. And by the way, I was on CNN a few weeks ago when we were talking about that. And, how cruel Republicans are. They want to, stop these people from getting, health care, and pregnant women won't be able to get, prenatal care and all this stuff. And I said, wait a minute. If your position is you think 10 million illegal immigrants should be able to get free health care at the cost of the taxpayer, then introduce a bill in Congress. Okay, let's have a debate about that. And of course, none of them want to have a debate on it. They just want people who are not eligible for the program to get the benefits. So, I mean, look, I'm frustrated myself because we don't cut enough spending. Look, that over 10 years, Pete, the baseline budget is for the United States government to spend $85 trillion over the next 10 years. Now, under the Republican budget, that cruel budget that's going to shut down rural hospitals and people are going to go without health care, blah, blah, blah. You know what the number is? Instead of $85 trillion, we're going to spend $83.5 trillion.
Man, that's even worse. That's crazy. So do you think, Steve Moore, last thing, do you think that Trump will have this big, beautiful bill on his desk by Independence Day, which is what he wants?
I would love to see it. I want to remind your listeners, every time I come on your show, I remind your listeners that failure is not an option here. If we don't get this done by the end of the year, we're facing a $4 trillion tax increase. So it has to get done. Failure is not an option. I'd love to see it done by the 4th of July. Wouldn't that be wonderful on Independence Day for Trump to have a nice bill signing ceremony? But I'm kind of doubtful.
Yeah.
I've been in this town for 35 years. These congressmen are like, teenagers who wait till the very last minute to do their homework. So I think we're probably looking at Memorial Day, Labor Day, not 4th of July.
I hate to say it, but I think you're right, Steve Moore. We always appreciate your time, my friend. Have an awesome weekend.
Yeah, look, people should call Josh Hawley and say, come on, get with the program. We're not cutting Medicaid benefits. We need a yes vote from him. And, I think he's grandstanding a little bit on this and saying, we got to, let all the illegal immigrants get these welfare benefits. I'm pro-immigrant, but they shouldn't be coming into the country and getting all these free services from the taxpayers. We're losing $2 trillion a year.
Wow. Yeah. From your lips, my man. Thank you, Steve.
Have a great weekend, my friend.
There you go. Steve Moore. You see him on Fox News all the time. He is a former economic advisor to President Trump. Now he is the founder of Unleash Prosperity. Good stuff there to him. All right, coming up, I want to get your thoughts on this. If you got to get rid of 2 federal holidays, which ones are you getting rid of? Trump floated out the idea yesterday on social media that we've got too many non-working holidays in America. And by the way, he's right. I'll do my Biden with, he's right, man. So which 2 are you going to get rid of? I've got some in mind. I've got some candidates in mind. And we'll get to you. 913-408-7957 coming up next. Well, Trump said it yesterday, and good for him, because I totally agree. You know, we were here yesterday. I know it's a federal holiday on Juneteenth, but we were here yesterday. And Trump posted this last night. Too many non-working holidays in America. It's costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. It must change if we are going to, all caps, make America great again. He's right. We've got 11 federal holidays. All right. And we'll just go down the list here real quick. Got New Year's Day. Got Martin Luther King Jr. birthday, third Monday in January. Got Washington's birthday, also known as President's Day in February. Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day.
And the asterisk for Inauguration Day every fourth year. So
yes.
Technically 12, but 11 annual.
Yes. Thank you for noting that.
We'll
Very
clarify
good point.
that before the listeners do.
You're right. Great point. I'm glad you did that,
I want
John.
to be the smartest guy in the room first.
Yes. Thank you. You're right. You're always thinking ahead, John. That's why you're the best producer in the business. So if you had to get rid of two, and I threw this up on social media last night, if you had to get rid of two, which ones would you get rid of? Now, I said two because, let's be honest, if I said one, everybody would pick Juneteenth because it's like the newest one. Half the people don't even realize yesterday's a day off. I know some of you are like, wait, I didn't get my mail. It's like, yes, Juneteenth's now a federal holiday. So it's not a knock on Juneteenth. It's just, it's the newest one. So most people would pick it because they're not even in a routine of it being a federal holiday. Wouldn't be like some racist thing. It would just be the new one. So to me, there are four that are non-negotiable. Four that are non-negotiable. Memorial Day, July 4th, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Those are the four that you can't touch.
I like that.
All right? Can't touch them. So then you've got a bunch of other ones that you could at least toy with. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I mean, listen, respect Martin Luther King Jr., but no one, let's just be honest, no one does anything for MLK Jr. on MLK Day. I mean, outside of his family, nobody does anything. It's a day to go buy a new mattress. That's what it is, okay? Because there's sales at Sleepy's. President's Day also definitely could be on the chopping block. No one does anything for President's Day. But here's the thing about President's Day. The caveat for President's Day is that it's become part of a long weekend where the schools oftentimes have working days on the front end and people go on their winter vacations around President's Day. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be on the chopping block, but there is a societal element of President's Day that has become part of what we do in the wintertime in this country.
I think that's Trump's point, though.
Yeah, yes, right. True, fair.
There's also the chance of it becoming a holiday with the Super Bowl.
Yes.
If they extend the season one more week.
Yes, then a lot of people would be off the Monday after the Super Bowl. You're right about that, Mark. And I think that's part of the NFL's long-term plan. So Goodell is currently lobbying the White House to not get rid of President's Day. The other ones that could be on the chopping block, Juneteenth, let's be honest. If George Floyd doesn't get killed, Juneteenth's not a federal holiday. That's a fact, all right? If that situation doesn't unfold in 2020, Juneteenth today is not a federal holiday. Not saying it shouldn't be, but that is what caused Juneteenth to become a federal holiday. Then you've got Labor Day. Now, Labor Day is worthless to me.
Mm-hmm.
However, once again, it's become ingrained in American society. It is that unofficial end of summer, final 3-day weekend, final getaway before getting back to the real world in September. A lot of East Coast schools in particular go back to school after Labor Day. That's kind of the unofficial end of summer for the kids.
Used to work that way here, too.
Yeah. But now, once again, what is the point of Labor Day? It's
right.
Worthless to me.
America's never not working.
Yeah.
Right? We got these 6-day schedules and all kinds of stuff. But I think Roger Goodell at the NFL wants that for our opening days.
That is true. And it's a big college football night as well. So you've got that part of it where it's kind of built into American culture at this point. As worthless as it is, it's built into American culture. Columbus Day. Now, listen, my old man will kill me for saying it as a proud Italian American. And I love Columbus Day as an Italian American, but what is Columbus Day? Do we need Columbus Day?
I always thought of it as an American thing as a young child. It's become more, or I recognize it now, the Italians adapt that, but you might as well join us Germans and the Mexicans and the Irish and just get a drinking holiday for Oktoberfest, St. Patrick's Day, and Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, it'd have to be around the wine game,
Yeah,
though.
just pick up one of those so we could replace that.
Mm-hmm. Veterans Day, obviously, is a day that we all love and honor, and we do a lot of Veterans Day things here on KCMO Talk Radio. But is that something that you've got to basically shut down the country for? I don't know. Once again, a lot of people don't celebrate Veterans Day, and frankly, I also believe that Memorial Day kind of checks off that box. Differently, obviously, because it's about those who have sacrificed it all and died. But, how many of those do you need? Can you combine some of these holidays, right?
4th of July, we should celebrate the military, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you could incorporate them in several holidays.
Absolutely. And then Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day are non-negotiables. So which two are you dropping? Claire's in Waldo. Go ahead, Claire. You're on KCMO.
Good morning, Pete. Shout out to your daughter, Claire. She must be a wonderful person.
Now, are you Claire with an I or no I?
No I.
Oh, okay. All right. Ours is with an I. But I still love you, Claire. Go ahead.
Okay. I was born and raised in Texas. I came to Kansas City after I went to Mizzou. I have my Texas flag hanging out front, and I would 100% eliminate Juneteenth. Juneteenth was always a Texas holiday. We celebrated it growing up every year, and I resent the fact that they made it a national holiday. Give it back to Texas.
Okay. Now give me a second one real quick, though. I got to get two.
I would take out either Veterans Day or Columbus Day, and my husband is an Italian American. And you're right, Columbus Day is also, he discovered America, and they've even tried to make Columbus Day Native American Day or something of that nature.
Yeah.
So Veterans Day is also a duplicate because of Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So that's a crapshoot, whether you want to pick one of those two.
Claire, have a great weekend. Thanks so much for checking in. I appreciate you. All right.
You too.
I want to get to you, 913-408-7957. And the funniest answer I got on social media next. 8:34. Trump saying what needs to be said yesterday. We got too many non-working holidays in America, costing our country billions. Which two are you whacking? You know, my gut reaction was MLK, because here's the thing about MLK Day. It's nothing against MLK, but you come back, a lot of people are off Christmas, New Year's. They've got a lot of time off around that time of year, or it's just slow in the office. You get working for 2 weeks, you're just getting in a routine, and then you get a day off.
Well, that's his birthday, so I understand why it's there, but maybe it could be another day to honor him.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
That's a possibility.
But I feel like you just get going in the new year.
No, that was like that. It is a weird feeling.
And then it's like, 3-day weekend. It just slows down the start of the new year on the routine, I feel like. But if I get rid of MLK and Juneteenth, there's probably some Rodney Dangerfield joke there. So you can't do that for obvious reasons. So then it's like, well, President's Day, what are you looking at? Columbus Day, Veterans Day. A lot of you, I was surprised on social media, wanted to get rid of New Year's Day. Now, maybe I'm biased here as a college football fan. I don't want to lose New Year's Day. But some of you are like, hey, you got Christmas. Why are we celebrating turning over the calendar? Now, there's a lot of economic reasons. They won't get rid of New Year's Day as a day off because people spend a lot of money to go out and drink. And if they have to go to work the next day, that hurts the economy. So New Year's Day is probably not going anywhere because of how it's ingrained into our society. 913-408-7957. How you join us on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Brian and Raymore, first up. Go ahead, Brian.
Good morning, Mr. Mundo. Hey, I just want to say I think it's President's Day. Honestly, I don't know if like 90% of the population even understands what President's Day is, but
can we call it King's Day just to screw with some people?
Exactly, I agree. Hey,
Yeah.
That's a good.
You good with that?
And I disagree with Claire a little bit on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. They're two completely separate holidays. When she said basically they're the same thing, they're completely not. As a combat vet, I have to disagree with that. But what about Columbus Day? I know you're Italian.
No. Listen, I'm trying to leave my Italian out of it. I'm trying to do my best on that and say
that's impossible. I know Italians, and they're either mildly Italian or severely Italian, and you just don't argue with them. You don't want to take that away. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not fully, so I'm trying to be reasonable here with this whole deal. But so you would get rid of what would you dump then, Brian?
I would dump Columbus Day for sure.
And what?
Columbus Day and President's Day.
Oh, really? Okay. Columbus Day and President's Day. Okay, and keep Juneteenth.
Keep Juneteenth.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it is what it is.
All right. Yeah. That's all right. That's a fine reaction and response.
I think we could adjust them over a period of time. I think some of them have less impact. I would be in favor of MLK Day and Juneteenth as they are newer, and retiring some of the older ones that maybe lost their meaning or gotten co-opted by other things.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of them kind of shaping and evolving over the period of time.
That's true as well. 913-408-7957. Holidays you would drop after Trump says yesterday we've got too many non-working holidays in America. Jeff and Shawnee, go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, great show. Hey, I just want to tell you, Columbus Day is not a federal holiday, but I would get rid of Columbus Day.
Well, yes, it is. No, it is a federal holiday.
Oh, I just looked it up. They said it. I just looked it up online and said. But if you said it,
I'm
is,
looking
it,
at the same thing. I'm looking at USA.gov. It does say it's a federal holiday. But anyway, go ahead. Continue.
Okay, I tell you what. Let's get rid of both of those. That way, we'll split it down the middle.
Which ones? Which ones are you getting rid of?
Juneteenth and Teenth or whatever, and Columbus Day, because like I said, the Juneteenth one that was a
I got you.
DEI deal. But hey, can I make a confession to you guys real quick? A real good confession.
Boy, I guess I'll say yes. I don't know where this is going, but sure, go ahead.
It's easy. I've been listening to the show probably since you came up. I'll be 61 on Saturday. I'm a big, grumpy construction guy, retired. Since I've listened to you, man, I've been profiled, and I tell you what, I just cut off my man bun that I had probably for 30 years the other day, and I'm probably going to sell my Subaru this year, man. You guys have just profiled me, and it's for a good cause. but I'm turning my life around because of things that have been said.
Well, we're very proud of you. Very proud of you, Jeff. All right.
Yeah, I hear. Hey, but my Subaru's pretty cool. It's black. It's tinted out. It's lifted. It's off road. But I feel a little weak driving it, and I'm a hardcore Republican, and it's time to get away from boys things. So I appreciate your day.
Hey, you know what? Anything we can do to help you turn around your life, Jeff, that's what we're here for, buddy.
It's probably the big protest I went by last week that I called on. I just saw a lot of people with man buns and Subarus, and I'm like, God, I just don't want to be associated with this.
And then you looked in the mirror and you said, it's time for the man bun to go.
Oh, I went down and got a crew cut. I've never had a crew cut since I was 5 years old, man. So.
All right, Jeff. Hey, it's never too late, man. Good work.
Hey, great show. Great show, guys. Take care.
I appreciate you. That's pretty good, John.
It's interesting the way we celebrate some of these, too. I mean, I'm in favor of losing the Washington birthday, President's Day thing because we used to include Lincoln in school. But my point being, every day is a freaking holiday if you get one of these Chase calendars. I mean, it's probably National Parallel Park Day. These aren't federal holidays, but to my point, every day is 5 days of something.
Oh, yeah.
So some of these federal holidays can still be celebrated, but just included in, and I will put Washington's birthday in there. It didn't have to be a federal holiday. You can still celebrate it, but include Abe Lincoln in there like we used to do when I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to do every president then from there on out? No.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of silly, so get rid of that one.
This is on the text line here. Pete, first responders who get time and a half will revolt if we start removing federal holidays. I'm sorry. Listen, we've got first responders backs here on KCMO. We're doing a Back the Blue tour next weekend next Friday in North KC. But frankly, I don't care. I'm sorry. That's absurd. The fact that, we have these federal holidays and then the taxpayer has to spend more money on time and a half for workers on what are now 11 federal holidays every year and 12 during inauguration years. That's ridiculous. I mean, cities, states, and the federal government doesn't have the money to be doing time and a half as we just keep adding federal holidays. And I say that as somebody who's got the back of first responders in Kansas City and around the country, but no. Nope. That's that sympathy's not coming from this microphone, at least. Jason in Olathe, go ahead, my man. What do you got for me?
Yeah, I got two easy holidays to kill for you.
Well, it kills a little strong. Kills a little strong. How about remove? Go ahead.
Remove, yeah. So MLK, you can wrap into Juneteenth, right? Black History Month.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah. Sure.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Columbus Day. Hey, America, yay. So 4th of July. There you go. Boom. Boom, bang, boom.
Okay. There you go. Wrap them into each other. That's not a bad call. Not a bad call there, Jason. MLK wrapped into Juneteenth, although Black History Month's February, right? So it doesn't work perfectly. Could you shift Black History Month to June? Although that's Pride Month. Wait, you can't do that. See, now you got all these factions going at each other.
Too much moving.
That's what I was saying. It's National Parallel Park Day somewhere.
Oh, jeez.
National Seashell Day today.
Oh, now I'm going to get myself in trouble. So let's. All right. Alfonso and Blue Springs. Let it rip.
They can pick any two holidays they want as long as Congress gets rid of their August recess. They got to lead by example.
Yeah. Well, I see a lot of people saying that on the text line, too, and on social media, like, hey, these guys in Congress got to go to work first before they start taking away our holidays. I get the sentiment. I do. I'm with you there, Alfonso. That's a good one, man. Yeah. That's a good one.
And I just became a government employee, so I would miss Juneteenth. I only got it once.
Oh, well done, my man. Well done. This came to me on X from my buddy Jeff Angelo. He is a host up in Des Moines, does talk radio up there. He said, I disagree with President Trump. I want to add federal holidays. I want the Monday after the Super Bowl and the day that the first Kiss album came out. There you go. How about that? From my buddy Jeff Angelo up in Des Moines. Nice job, Jeff. This was a hot take from Ben on X. Christmas and Thanksgiving, they should be moved to a Sunday every year. What? Dude, what planet are you living on? No way, no how. You're not screwing with Jesus' birthday? All right, last one. Paul in Kansas City. Go ahead.
All right, Pete, I'm going to take out President's Day and Labor Day. The reason Labor Day is when we start as a cycle, you go into October, you got President's Day, Indigenous Day, whatever. Then you got Veterans Day in November. You got Thanksgiving in November. Then you go to the Christmas Exodus and New Year's. So take out Labor Day.
And President's Day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'm open to those two as well. Labor Day is just totally worthless.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I agree with those two choices.
I've never understood it. And as it's aligned less and less with when schools end up reopening, just blow it out, especially here.
It was a union day.
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing I can't stand about it, too. It's like, good gosh, we got to praise unions around here? I'm not doing that. Buy, sell, hold. 3 questions going into the weekend here on KCMO. And then we've got Duron Cherry for our Feature Friday on 95.7 FM. All right, so you're right now maybe ready to pop the question. I got engaged in June 13 years ago. Maybe that'll be you. And if you're dragging your feet, go to Diamonds Direct right now at 119th and Row, and you will get a free wedding band when you buy your engagement ring from Diamonds Direct. That is as good a deal as you're going to find. I was so naive at 22, growing up with all boys, that when I got engaged, I didn't realize that the woman also got a wedding band. So that was a surprise to me. It's called being a naive 22-year-old. But now that, had I known what I know then, I would have tried to find a deal like Diamonds Direct is offering right now. So head on in there, tell Angie and the team that we sent you, and you will get the white glove service. You get a little glass of champagne if you want. I mean, they'll take care of you. And they will make sure they don't go above your budget. Whatever it is, $500 to $50,000, they got you covered at Diamonds Direct. Best service, best quality, and you cannot beat the deals. So head on in, tell them we sent you a KCMO, and stop dragging your feet on the engagement. DiamondsDirect.com or 119th and Row. I love our friends at KCTV5, but they got to be careful to not overdo this first warn thing. It's June 20th in Kansas City. It's hot, okay? I mean, what are we warning on? It's hot in Kansas City in late June. Thank you very much.
Remember, you're getting the first warn because it's bang. We're talking heat indices above 100, though,
True.
Potentially.
And it did
It's
come
a
on.
lot at once, anyway. Yeah.
That's true. It's been a pretty mild spring, I would say, by our standards. So, fair. All right. All right, John, you convinced me. It's all good, man. Let's do it on a Friday.
It's time to buy, sell,
How about a day in 12 and a half, 15?
and hold.
Okay, 3 questions. Buy, sell, hold. What's on the rundown?
Buy, sell, or hold the 2-week period Trump refers to as him chickening out again.
Oh, my gosh. They're really using this taco thing on Trump with Iran, saying they've got 2 weeks to make a decision. No, sell. See, for all the talk about Trump and the crazy tweets and being irresponsible and not being focused, Trump is like the athlete who steps up his game the most in the biggest moments. He's the guy who, when literally lives are on the line, he's actually responsible. He actually thinks things through. Now, when it comes to making fun of like MSNBC TV hosts, he doesn't really care. He just says whatever's on his mind. But dating back to his first term, he has been very cautious, very well thought out, and the results suggest his foreign policy decisions over his time in office have been arguably his best moves. They've been smart, calculated, sobering decisions that have not been taken lightly. And he's more or less, no pun intended, hit the right button every time. He's learned and he's seen the mistakes of both political parties, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, certainly now Joe Biden. And he's taken all this information in, and he's basically made the right decision every single time. So for the haters who are like, oh, this is Trump chicken, come on. And if he bombed Iran yesterday, they'd say, Trump's starting World War III. Now they're like, he's waiting 2 weeks, he's chickening out. These people have zero credibility that are making this claim for Trump. He's taking the right approach day by day and letting this thing play out. What's next?
Buy, sell, or hold 18th and Vine ballpark is a good idea at the wrong time.
Yes, I will buy that. The Negro Leagues Baseball Museum here in Kansas City is a crown jewel. There's no doubt about it. It frankly deserves more. And I know that they're trying, and you know, they've done as good a job as they can do in getting that thing more national attention. But it's still, I don't think it's really as well known nationally as it should be. And it would make a lot of sense to have a ballpark that incorporates and is easily accessible to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. But it's not going to happen. It's not. Despite the fact that Ollie Gates threw it out there this week to KCTV5 that, hey, I want the ballpark to be down there at the 18th and Vine District, Quentin Lucas basically confirmed on the show that it's Washington Square Park or bust for KC Mo. And really, if we're looking at the Missouri side, there are 2 locations now. North Kansas City, the old bowling alley, or Washington Square Park. That's it. And it's probably going to be one of those 2 locations if I were just a betting man. But the 18th and Vine idea is a nice idea in theory, mostly to incorporate the Negro Leagues Museum. That would be a win for Kansas City. But there are a lot of reasons as to why that location is not going to happen. And Quentin Lucas basically confirmed it yesterday, John.
And it would be so Kansas City to move a ballpark 50 years away and then move back about 4 blocks away from where you were.
Well, yeah. You know, and in hindsight, too, I mean, this is total 2020. I'm not saying that the Royals were wrong in their decision 2 years ago or 20 years ago to upgrade the K. But that was the time to really go downtown. I mean, that's when all the downtown stuff was being built, stadiums all over the country, like Petco Park in San Diego. A lot of these stadiums went downtown mid-2000s, early 20-teens, and that was the play then. Now you're kind of late to the game, and you know the next iteration of stadiums is going to be like, let's go to a big field and get all the parking right as
by ourselves.
Yeah, right as we finish like building whatever the new Royal Stadium's going to be.
We're so far behind, we're ahead of the time sometimes. Okay, buy, sell, or hold. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is politicizing an apolitical position.
This will be unpopular with some people, but I'm going to sell it. So we talked with Steve Moore about this earlier in the hour, and Steve Moore made the case that Jerome Powell is politicizing his position as Fed chair, and he's not lowering rates because of Trump and tariffs, and he's got all these reasons. Like, Powell was wrong back in 2021 on not increasing interest rates. He was dead wrong on it. He was like, oh, it's transitory. That was the line that Janet Yellen used and all these people, right? Don't worry, it's going to settle down. I mean, no, if you have any common sense, you knew we blew out the budget, we spent way too much money, and inflation was real and it was happening. And they were late. That's why Trump calls him too late Powell. But right now, I know Trump desperately wants him to cut rates because it allows him to get the interest rates down on the debt payments in the United States, and we'll get to some consumer spending in the U.S., but we're not close to the 2% inflation mark. We're still at like 2.5%, 3%, which might sound close, but it's, 50% off of where we need to be. So I would not cut rates right now. Powell may have been wrong in 21. I don't think he's wrong now. Duran Cherry is our Feature Friday guest next. Every Friday morning, 9 o'clock, we like to welcome on a guest for more of a long-form conversation to take you into the weekend. And we are happy to welcome on and say good morning to a guy who needs absolutely no introduction in this town, and that is Chiefs Hall of Famer Duron Cherry joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. Duron, good morning. It's great to have you here. Thanks for the time.
Hey, man, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, let me just start off with this. We like to, in these conversations, get into individuals' backgrounds. You grew up in New Jersey. So did you grow up a Philadelphia Eagles fan as a South Jersey guy?
Of course, you know it. I sure did.
When did you kick that fandom? That's what I want to know.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I've got a brother that still lives back there. He's a season ticket holder for the Eagles. And, when we won it a couple years ago against them, I had all the bragging rights. So now he's got all the bragging rights. So I kicked that can down the road a long time ago. I think when I started playing in the league, I kicked that can. They became one of my most hated teams. But no, I was a Philly fan growing up. I mean, you had to be in that area. So it was nice.
Well, as I went to Villanova, so I dealt with all that Philly and Eagle craziness during 4 years of college, and that South Jersey community where you grew up, man, they love those Eagles. It is as much a religion there as it is here with the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, it's such a great sports town. I mean, you get not only did you have the Eagles, but you had the Phillies, you had the Flyers, you had the 76ers, and it was just, it was a great time to grow up back then, and to see all these great players that you kind of idolized growing up. And I got a chance to know some of the Eagle players, during the times when they were really, really good. So it was a special time for me. It was good to grow up in an area where sports was, so prevalent.
So who is your guy growing up that you looked up to or wanted to be?
So there were two guys. So my high school played against a high school that was down in the country, but there was a guy named Franco Harris that played for that high school. And I got a chance to see Franco Harris play when I was a youngster, and he was in high school. And I remember him playing against my school, and we were a smaller school. We shouldn't have been even playing his school, but I remember watching him rush for like 250 yards and 5 touchdowns against my high school. Now, when you think of Franco Harris and you look at the size of Franco Harris, he was that big when he was in high school. And it was just amazing to see somebody that big. So I always grew up, I was a big Franco Harris fan. And then for the Eagles, the guy that I met that probably had a big influence on me and my career, and just the way his personality and the way he played the game, was a safety the Eagles had by the name of Randy Logan. He was a guy that I knew. He was good friends with my dad, and he used to always give me advice when I was in college, and I just never forgot it. He really made a grave impact on me.
What was that relationship between your father? What did he do for a living that he knew these guys?
So my dad was a principal in high school and in middle school, but he was also my dad umpired baseball for like 40 years, and he refereed basketball for like 35 years. So he was always around people. And then he, during his spare time when he had it, he would go over and he would be an usher like at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia for like the Phillies, and then at the Eagles games sometimes. And he got to know a lot of these guys. So that's how, my dad always had the gift of gab. There wasn't a person he met that he didn't like. And he was, he just, people just gravitated to him. And so I had, we used to go to a lot of sports games growing up because he was a basketball official and umpire in baseball. So we traveled a lot and saw some, great guys growing up. And, of course, he took us to a lot of the professional sporting games. And so that's kind of was my background in sports growing up.
Duron Cherry is here, and of course, Chiefs Hall of Famer joining us on KCMO. The Duron Cherry Foundation has some great events coming up we'll tell you about here. But before we get to that, Duron, you're a New Jersey guy. You play your career, here in Kansas City. And after you retire, of course, following the 91 season, you stay here. Kansas City becomes your home. Anytime I talk to athletes on the show or off the show on why they stayed in Kansas City when they weren't from here, there seems to be a common theme about, this community embracing them. What was it for you that kept you in Kansas City?
Same thing, Pete. This community embracing me and, giving me all the support that I needed, coming in here as a rookie free agent punter, right? And then becoming an all-pro safety. And, there was some struggling times with this football team and organization back when I was playing. But, the fans stuck with us. They supported us through thick and thin. And then when we started to get good and, Arrowhead kind of changed, it became a really, really good place to be and to experience. So I would say, just the support that I've gotten. And then the fact that, finishing my career and then wanting to support our community and do the things we're doing with the Duron Cherry Foundation and continue to have the support. It's been 33 years, I think, now that we started the foundation, and we're still going strong. And that's only because of the support we get from this tremendous community. So for me, it's always been a love affair and really wanting to have that opportunity to give back to this community that's been so good to me.
What do you have coming up? I know, it's 33 years, I believe it is, for the Duron Cherry Foundation, which is amazing. What's next on the to-do list for the foundation this year?
So coming up, as we get into the fall, we've got a number of different things. We'll have a back-to-school event for teachers to be able to come in and get their supplies for free. We just finished a donation drive for a lot of the nonprofit charities in Kansas City, where we had it down at my office where they could come in and just pick up items that they need, clothing items that they'll need for the winter. And we've got a great partnership with Target, and they've been really helpful in giving us opportunities to provide, items for our community. So that's been great. And then coming up in the fall, we have our biggest fundraiser that we have every year is our Duron Cherry Celebrity Golf Tournament. It's a 2-day event, and we have an auction on September 27th. And then we'll play two days of golf on the, I believe it's the 29th and 30th. Let's see, 27th, 29th and 30th, that Monday and Tuesday. So those are that's our biggest events coming up. And if you want to be involved, if you want to be a volunteer or a sponsor, you can reach out on the Duron Cherry Foundation.org website. And, we are always looking for support and always looking to partner with our community and to be able to provide opportunities for those that we help and support.
How unusual was it for you, Duron? I mean, when you retire, you launched the foundation right away here in Kansas City. This was, listen, I mean, you guys did well, but it's not like today where these guys are making such incredible amounts of money. Launching that foundation, what was the purpose for you in using your time, your efforts, and your money back in the early 90s to say, this is what I want to do, and I want it to be here in Kansas City?
Yeah, so I had a gentleman who was in my school, in high school. He was the janitor, and a gentleman by the name of Merle Pratt. And Mr. Pratt used to let us young kids at the time come in and play in the gym and keep us off the streets. And I always felt, that, if I ever got a chance to honor him in a way, because he gave us that opportunity to keep us off the streets, and knowing that he was going to have to go back in later on that night and clean the gym, and he wasn't getting back home until like midnight or after midnight, but he never told us no. He always would open up an opportunity for us to be in a safe environment and be able to, work on our skills, but more importantly, be able to keep us off the streets and keep us safe. And I always felt that if I ever got an opportunity in a position where I could give back to my community in a way that Mr. Pratt gave to us as young kids growing up in an area that was tough, that I would do that. And a guy by the name of Bob Ritchie, who's a radiologist here in town, came to me and approached me and asked me if I wanted to get involved. At that time, it was with Park Lane Medical Center over there in Raytown, and wanted to do something similar to what Len Dawson was doing at Truman Medical Center, hosting a golf tournament and raising funds for a charity. And so he approached me and we got together, and I told him that I absolutely was very interested, but I wanted it to be kid centric, where we were working with kids. And then eventually we started a program called Score One for Health, where we do health screenings in the elementary schools. We started with one school, about 250 kids. And now with our partnership with Kansas City University, they're screening over 14,000 kids a year now. So
That's
it's been
amazing.
great.
Absolutely amazing. Duran, we're going to take and we'll continue the conversation if that works for you.
That works.
All right. Duran Cherry here, of course, needs no introduction in this town. Chiefs legend, Hall of Famer, and a multiple-time Pro Bowler, joining us for our Feature Friday segment on KCMO. We'll get to him about his favorite moments at Arrowhead and much more coming up next. Chiefs Hall of Famer Duron Cherry is here on KCMO, the Duron Cherry Foundation, always doing great work around Kansas City. So anytime we have these conversations on Fridays with our guests, more of a long-form conversation, people throw out questions on the text line. And usually it's not meant to be insulting to anyone on the text line. It's just usually I don't get to them because I have my questions I want to ask, the follow-ups and things like that. But I thought this was interesting just now on the text line, Duron. Someone texted in, they said, please ask Mr. Cherry about the old artificial turf and what it was like playing on that and the 2 days compared to how the grass and the turf is now. So, Duron, how would you answer that question on the text line?
Well, I probably could play another 20 years or so if I was playing on natural grass and not that turf at Arrowhead Stadium. It's funny. I even have a piece of that turf here at the house. When they tore it up, I wound up getting a piece of it just kind of as a memory type of deal. But, yeah, when you think about it, underneath that turf was like a thick little rubber pad, and then underneath that was just concrete. So you can imagine what that was like playing your entire career on a surface like that, especially when it came to the winter time when it would get really, really cold. And it's just like walking out, in the middle of the street and playing a game. And it just beat your body up so bad. And it was hard to recover. And then, you could seriously tell a difference when the week you played on natural grass as opposed to playing on AstroTurf. Your body reacted so much differently and recovered a lot quicker than being on that surface.
And was there one road trip where you would always appreciate the grass? Because as I recall, a lot of stadiums were doing the AstroTurf then. So which one were you like, oh man, I'm getting grass this weekend. This is going to be good.
Yeah, in our division, most of the other teams, they all had, two of them had grass, Denver, and actually three, Denver, San Diego, and the Raiders was all on natural grass. So you knew. And then during the time when, of course, Seattle, we played them, but they played inside on the dome and didn't like that too much. So, but other than that, yeah, any National Football League stadium that had grass was really great, except for those back in the day, you had those multi-purpose stadiums where they were playing baseball in it. And, sometimes early in the year, you'd have to go play and the baseball field would still be down and you'd have that really hard infield surface that you had to play on that your spikes couldn't even grip into. And it was like playing on skates. So, I didn't care for that too much either.
Duron Cherry's joining us on KCMO. So, with all these conversations, of course, around the future of these two teams and the stadiums, where are you at in terms of what you want to see the Chiefs potentially do when it comes to the future of Arrowhead?
Well, of course, I want them to stay at Arrowhead. I mean, there's nothing like Arrowhead. I know, if they can get another 20-plus years out of Arrowhead, I think it'd be great for the team to stay there. I just know eventually – they're going to have to build a new stadium at some point in time. But I think we can kick that can down the road a little bit. And then, for the Royals baseball, most cities love to have baseball downtown. It kind of makes sense. I'm a little biased because I have a business downtown, and it'd be great to have the Royals downtown from a selfish standpoint. But I think as long as we can keep both the teams in Jackson County, I'd be happy.
So, Duron, how about, when you think back to your playing days, is there one game that stands out to you in terms of the loudest you ever heard Arrowhead?
Oh, yeah, there's no question. We're probably thinking the same game. Was that Monday night game against the Buffalo Bills. To me, that night was magical. I mean, this was the Bills. I think they were coming off their maybe second appearance in the Super Bowl or third, whatever it was. And we had them. It was the first time we had been on national TV. We hadn't been on national TV, for a long time. And we had an opportunity to play them in Kansas City. And that whole game from the afternoon through the whole evening until that game was over, that was probably the loudest that I've ever heard Arrowhead Stadium. It was almost like it was, it's when the Chiefs got resuscitated. It's like somebody took one of those shock things and just shocked Arrowhead Stadium, and then it just blew up. And from that point on, there was it just was an amazing place to play.
All right, Duran. So you got the golf tournament coming up in September for the foundation. For folks who want to get involved in anything going on with you, with your foundation, which has been rocking and rolling for 30 plus years here in Kansas City, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, they can go to our website, DuranCherryFoundation.org, and there's some buttons you can click. And Erin Cudor she is our executive director, and she'd be happy to assist in any way, whether it's being a volunteer, whether it's being a sponsor. If you're a business and you want to put a team together, we have available spots to do that. It's a great event. I think people will tell you that it's probably one of the best events every year. It's always a first class tournament. We have probably one of the best tee packages that we give away, and it's just a fun time where you can come out and relax and enjoy it and entertain customers. We have a lot of people to come and bring their customers, not even that are here locally, but from out of town. So it's really been great. And we have a tailgate party on the Saturday night down at my place of business, United Beverage, and everybody comes dressed in their Chiefs gear, and we just have a great time. So looking forward to that event too as well, where we can raise money for the charities that we support.
Well, Duran, thank you for being here on KCMO. We really appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
Hey, Pete, thank you. I appreciate the support. Thank you.
You bet. DuranCherryFoundation.org. There you go. Our caller of the day will join us. We'll wrap up the show with Kevin Kietzman on a Friday, all coming up next. 9:35. Happy Friday. It's going to be a hot weekend around Kansas City. Not sure it's first warn kind of a day. It's just hot in Kansas City in June. But either way, it's going to be a warm one, and we are glad you are starting off the weekend with us on KCMO. And we're glad you are here for our caller of the day. Uh, 913-408-7957. Holidays you would drop after Trump says yesterday, we've got too many non-working holidays in America. Jeff and Shawnee, go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, great show. Hey, I just want to tell you, Columbus Day is not a federal holiday, but I would get rid of Columbus Day.
Well, yes, it is. No, it is a federal holiday.
Oh, I just looked it up. They said it. I just looked it up online and said. But if you said it,
I'm looking at the same thing. I'm looking at USA.gov. It does say it's a federal holiday. But anyway, go ahead. Continue.
Okay, I tell you what. Let's get rid of both of those. That way, we'll split it down the middle.
Which ones? Which ones are you getting rid of?
June 10th and 10th or whatever, and Columbus Day, because like I said, the June 10th one that was a
I got you.
DEI deal. But hey, can I make a confession to you guys real quick? A real good confession.
Boy, I guess I'll say yes. I don't know where this is going, but sure, go ahead.
It's easy. I've been listening to the show probably since you came up. I'll be 61 on Saturday. I'm a big, grumpy construction guy, retired. Since I've listened to you, man, I've been profiled, and I tell you what, I just cut off my man bun that I had probably for 30 years the other day, and I'm probably going to sell my Subaru this year, man. You guys have just profiled me, and it's for a good cause, but I'm turning my life around because of things that have been said.
Well, we're very proud of you. Very proud of you, Jeff. All right.
Yeah, I hear. Hey, but my Subaru is pretty cool. It's black. It's tinted out. It's lifted. It's off-road. But I feel a little weak driving it, and I'm a hardcore Republican, and it's time to get away from boys things. So I appreciate your day.
Hey, you know what? Anything we can do to help you turn around your life, Jeff, that's what we're here for, buddy.
There you
go. It's probably the big protest I went by last week that I called on. I just saw a lot of people with man buns and Subarus. And I'm like, God, I just don't want to be associated with this.
And then you looked in the mirror and you said, it's time for the man bun to go.
Oh, I went down and got a crew cut. I've never had a crew cut since I was 5 years old, man. So.
All right, Jeff. Hey, it's never too late, man. Good work.
Hey, great show. Great show, guys. Take care.
I appreciate you. That is Jeff and Shawnee, our caller of the day. And in listening back to it, John, I will say, I think he's giving us too much credit.
Yeah.
I think that he got so embarrassed driving past the No Kings protests on Saturday that's really what made him do it. I mean, I've been goofing on Subarus and man buns for years.
Yeah.
And
but
then
he wouldn't have known to be embarrassed had he not listened, you see.
Well,
he might have driven by and just seen himself and thought, hey.
Yeah, but if I see myself at these protests, I'm making some changes in my life, you know? I would have been like, no matter what, man, I don't want to look like those guys with the man bun and the Subaru, so I got to do something here. Unless he just all connected what we would joke on with what he saw on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that drew him to the conclusion that it's time to turn my life around.
Wait a minute. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
here's the deal. You can have the long hair, just don't do the man bun. Now that he's taking it down to the crew cut, it's like doing your yard. You take it all the way down to the roots, it's going to come back even stronger now.
See, I disagree with you.
On the haircut?
Yeah, no man in his 60s, unless you're a rock star, should have long hair.
Okay. My hair's longer than other people, though.
No.
Some
you
people
do not.
think I have.
You do not have long hair.
I don't consider it long,
No.
but I notice it's longer. Well, I have hair, so
That's what I
compared to people
mean.
my age,
John,
so I
you
guess I
got you got the best head of hair for a guy in his 60s in this town. It's incredible. I mean, Kietzman's actually pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah,
we got some good hair genes in this building.
Yeah, that's true.
But you don't have long hair. I'm talking like rock star long down to the shoulders.
Yeah.
Any grown man who can do a man bun has long hair.
Right.
You can't do that in your 60s. The time has
I
passed
watch
you
too
by.
much soccer, so you don't see that on the golf tour. I get it.
Yeah, that's true. I do not
see
see
the
that.
ponytails in the soccer league.
I don't see that. You're right.
No, but you're right. Even the rock stars from my generation aren't sporting long hair now at this age. Even if they could, it looks a little.
It looks silly.
Can look silly.
It looks silly.
Fabio.
We had a program director here in the building up until about a year ago, and I love the guy, but he had the long hair rocker look going in his 70s, and I'm like, it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't hit. You're trying too hard. You can't make it happen.
Well, at some point, it looks like he can't
make it happen.
At some point, it looks like he can't afford the barber.
Exactly. Or he's blind. He can't see himself in the mirror. One or the other.
They make it look so hip on TV, the disheveled gardener on the Housewife series, but most guys can't pull that thing off.
No way, no how. Oh, my goodness. 9:40 on a Friday morning. Mark is back in the saddle. Garner did a great job. We got to give a shout out to our boy Garner. He held it down. Mark, he did have to dump somebody while you were gone.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
What was that again, John?
Sean Smith.
Oh, it was Sean Smith.
It was the Jackson County legislator. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
yes.
Sean Smith.
No, see, and Sean used the word appropriately. It's just that we can't say it on the radio.
Yeah. He called Frank White something on air he shouldn't have said.
It was about the increases in making stuff. We had the little garage in the hometown where they were out of business, going to have to sell the building.
Yeah, it was about the commercial property tax
So
assessment.
he referred to it as stupid sugar.
Yes. So Garner did use the dump button while you were gone, and it wasn't against a caller. It was against a guest, and that would not have been on my bingo card.
No, he's usually soft-spoken.
I know.
But you can usually relax when a guest's on,
Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
Garner had a quick trigger, though.
Mm-hmm.
He's good. He was prepared. So Mark got back at about 2 a.m. from the left coast. He was there for a graduation party and celebration for his nephew who graduated high school. So everything go well for you, big guy? Everything move along swell over the weekend?
Yeah, it was really well. We had the graduation. We had my sister-in-law's birthday. We had my parents' anniversary.
Whoa!
There was just a lot of parties going on. I was there for the ride.
That's a lot to celebrate,
It
man.
was Father's Day, I guess we celebrated.
That's true. And then, of course, you got home last night, or I should say this morning, at 2 a.m. after delays in Dallas. So we appreciate you turning things around and getting yourself to the studio this morning. Nice job.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
I know.
I had to get back.
You're a worker, man. You're a worker. Well done.
Maybe you crossed paths with the Royals leaving Dallas. They were headed to San Diego. They were going West Coast.
I did see some Rangers fans. They saw me in my Royals gear. They were congratulating me on Jack Caglione's 2 home runs.
On the big sweep?
Yep. They love Bobby Witt Jr.
Oh,
they said
really?
even though they're not Royals fans, they like what the Royals are doing. So, all right.
Did they give you any insight into whether or not they know if Dayton Moore is going to run for governor of Kansas since he's working for the Texas Rangers?
Yeah, they did not give me that insight.
Someone texted me. I woke up to this. Somebody in Kansas politics texted me at like 11 p.m. or 11:30 last night. And they're like, hey, can you get Dayton Moore on the show and get him to run for governor? I'm like, no, I don't get anybody to do anything, okay? I mean, I can't get my own kids to eat dinner, okay? I mean, I don't get anyone to do anything.
I don't like any radio station. We don't do requests.
Yeah. But it's like, listen, Dayton Moore is going to do what he wants to do. He doesn't need me or anybody else to tell him what to do, okay? And he's taking his time because here's the thing. People who, don't need this stuff, they're not, addicted to this stuff, to the power and the prestige of politics, who actually can, do a lot for a living and be highly successful. They need to basically make sure that they've got all their bases covered, no pun intended, before they go out there and decide to run for office. And I have no idea. People ask me what Dayton Moore is going to do. I don't know. I don't know if he knows. I do know this. He's got a passion for giving back. He wants to utilize his leadership talents to the best of his abilities. And I think a part of him is trying to figure out whether or not politics is actually an avenue to do that based on all the headaches that come along with it. That's just my read on where he's at right now. But there's a lot of time. I mean, no one's voting on a Kansas governor until next August. We're 14 months away from anyone casting a vote in a primary. So there is a lot of time. We'll wrap up the show and the week with Kevin Kietzman, who is the host of Uncanceled, coming up at 10 o'clock on KCMO. Wrapping up the week with Kevin Kietzman here on KCMO. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hi, Pete. It's good to have Mark back. I thought maybe he left. I wasn't sure what was going on. Garner was sizing up the chair and everything else. Thinking, I got this gig. He brought in his own fan he had in there to keep cool. He moved all his stuff in. I thought Garner was taking over for you, Mark.
Yeah, he took down the picture of your kids and everything there, Mark. So you had to be careful, buddy.
No, I took those down so that I could get my Harvard certificate.
There you go. Nice job. So last week we were getting ready for Father's Day. I said I was going to play 9 holes of golf.
Yeah.
And Kevin met us out there, met my oldest, Claire.
She's awesome.
You gave her a nice little KK Has Issues shirt. She wore it. I sent you the photo of her in the KK Has Issues shirt. Had a couple of golf ball sleeves in there, which she was just loving.
Yeah.
She is into it now.
She wants to play, doesn't she?
Wants to play, and I can't tell how genuine it is. But I'm like, I've got to at least let her try.
So did she putt? Did she do anything with you?
Yes, she did. Here's the problem, though. I'm left-handed. She's right-handed.
Oh.
So she borrowed. We played with 3 older guys. They were loving her the whole time. They're like, hey, take my putter. And, they'd kind of let her whack around and, have fun on the green.
If you would accept it from me, I have a starter set in my basement. It was Jessica's first set of clubs.
No.
You can have them. I'll do anything to get kids involved in golf. It's a passion of mine.
I may have some kids' clubs, too. My dad was a big golfer, and he set up my sons.
Really?
And of course, they've outgrown them.
So I was thinking about going to Shields and just getting a putter and iron and maybe one other club.
Yeah.
And then just saying, hey,
sure,
try to do this at a reasonable cost.
Because
Get her
she's
out
really
there.
small. How old
6.
is she? Yeah, she's
6
really
and a
small.
half. Yeah.
So these are maybe for when she's 10.
Okay.
Or you could cut them down.
Yeah.
You take them in and somebody will do that for you. But they got all kinds of kids sets. I think you could probably get one for $150, can't you?
Yeah.
A starter set with a bag and the
yeah.
whole thing?
The whole thing, yeah. It's just I'm never going to be one of those dads that's like, hey, you do what I want you to do. Just do what you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
But she's insistent. And afterwards, she wanted to kind of hang out in the putting green and do it. And I was like, all right.
You know why? She was with Dad.
Maybe.
It's exactly what it is.
Maybe. Yeah.
Cherish that. That's the thing you can do with your kids forever. It's basically the only thing that you can do for life with your kids when they grow up. I figure I can play golf, if God willing, till I'm 90 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I see people doing that. So play golf with my kids. It's been great.
That's a good point. So she said to me the other night, once in a while they care or they pretend to care about what happened during my day. So 2 days ago, she says, how was the day at work, Dad? I said, well, actually, one of our coworkers decided to resign here. And she's like, oh, no. I'm like, no, it's fine. He's got a new gig. He's happy. Everything's good. She goes, is it the guy from the golf course? I'm like, no, not him. She's like, oh, good. She's like, I like that guy. She's like, he was great.
She doesn't know. Wait till her friends tell her about me. That'll fade. Give that a couple of years.
No, it's amazing. She give her 2 sleeves of golf balls and they're on cloud 9.
So you guys have little kids. You can identify with this. This J.J. Spawn, who won the U.S. Open last week.
Yes.
He said the greatest thing after he won the U.S. Open. He'd been up most of the night. His daughter's very young. I think she's maybe 2.5 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And she was throwing up all night. So he had to run out to CVS or something in the middle of the night and get something. I don't know what. And so he was tired. And he's telling the story. He goes, this was so great. They're like, what's the best part of winning? He said, I got to tell my daughter I won. And they're like, well, can you elaborate on that? He said, every day I come home from the golf course. And she says, did you win? And he goes, well, I just practiced today, so no. And then I'd go on a Thursday round and a Friday round. I come home, did you win? No, it doesn't end until Sunday. And today she goes, Dad, did you win? He goes, yes, I won the U.S. Open.
That is so great. Because literally, Claire was asking me after the 9 holes at Falcon Valley with a bunch of guys I'd never met in my life, did you win? Did you win? I said, we're not playing against each other here. That's not how. But I don't want to dissuade the competitive spirit.
No.
So I'm like, hey, we didn't win, but I wasn't trying to be like, we're not playing, against each other. It was just like, we're just having fun here. But I'm trying to do that without dissuading and taking away the competitive streak.
Yeah, but when you go home and you discuss as parents and don't think the kids are listening about how well, let's say, the radio station's doing, or you got a promotion to vice president and you're kind of winning in your career and beating other radio stations, they pick up on that stuff.
Yeah.
They do. They hear
That's
you
true.
talking about that because everything you do in life in some way is competitive. Like even the mates we select. If we want to, cut it down to its most primal form, the mates, we're all competing for the people that we have in our lives. I mean, it's if you think about what humans are, we compete at every level and we don't even know it. Every day we compete driving to work with the drivers around us. You're trying to get around somebody, that's sort of a competitive spirit. I don't want to get stuck in this lane behind this truck. I don't want this. I'm competing to get around. Man, competition's good.
You're
I love
right. It is. And I never want to take that competitive streak out of them. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Keep score at those soccer games, man.
Yeah, well, I know. And that's why, too, when they were playing kindergarten soccer and they knew they were winning, it was kind of like trying to tamp it, but not take that out of them.
Yeah. And it's okay to lose.
Yes.
Only if it inspires you to try to do better last. If you can look at yourself when you lost and say anything other than, we absolutely were the best we could possibly be today, we can accept losing. But if you made mistakes and can learn from it, become a better soccer player or a better golfer or whatever, and then you go do that, that's what life's about. It's about improving every day, whatever it may be. Even for people with, Democrats with demons in their lives, try to find a way to improve your life a little bit. Read something that's true one time,
Oh, man. How about Caglione, those 2 home runs yesterday?
So that's 2 home runs that nobody else on the team can hit. I'm serious. The one up in his eyes, nobody should swing at that pitch. And I'm sure Quintero told him, nice job, kid. Don't ever swing at that pitch again. But he's the only guy on the team that can hit that pitch out. And then the second one that he squared up, they're still looking for it. It went so far. Nobody else on the team can hit the ball that far. So he literally, his first 2 home runs are home runs that nobody else on the team would have had.
I saw that first home run was 4.22 feet above the ground, the second highest pitch anyone has homered off of this year.
Insane.
That's amazing.
You're not supposed to swing at it. And he got under it and elevated it. And he said, I thought it was too high and not going out. That's how strong he is. Mark, do you remember when he was called up? We had a discussion on the air. He's going to hit home runs that nobody else hits that we think are going to be outs because they go up so high, but they're just going to clear the wall by a few feet.
Yeah.
Like Salvi's power to the warning track is home run power for Caglione. It's going out.
Yeah.
He's that strong. It's different. It's
Last
different.
30 seconds. I know they're 10.5 out in the division, but they're right in the wild card race. What do? Buy or sell or just sit pat?
That's funny. We were asking that question on the podcast yesterday. I would have said sell. Looking towards selling before this last series, there's 9 teams competing for 3 wild card spots. So it's crowded this year.
Yeah.
You can't sell yet. You're too close. You can't. You got to see if Caglione works and how your pitching is. You can't sell yet.
Have a great weekend,
Thank
my
you,
man.
buddy. Appreciate it.
Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled, 10 o'clock hour is coming up next.